Co-host sucks.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein!
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Why, a 4-year-old child could understand this report. Run out and find me a 4-year-old child. I can't make head or tail out of it. Barabelli, you've got the brain of a 4-year-old boy, and I bet he was glad to get rid of it.
My fate is up to you.
Now I'd be shitting my pants if I was you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to YLS Top 100, episode number 2 for Top 100 Movie Scenes. If you've joined us last week, you know, can everybody hear that? I don't know why that's going off like that. That's crazy. All right, I think it's done. It's Top 100 Movie Scenes. Last week, the lists were a little mediocre, but I mean, it's the 90s. I don't expect anybody to set the world on fire. Jake kind of made me wish the world was on fire, so I wouldn't have to live through the rest of his list. But other than that, decent start, but let's see where we're going from here. Cody, you eked out a first place finish last week. What are your thoughts on that? And is that going to continue this week?
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor. I'm going to say some stuff that is not about the show for a second. There's a crime that's been happening in this community, and it needs to be addressed. Kaleb Koho 1 is not here, so he's a coward and hides because he went to California for a week and didn't have to work on anything, and now he comes back and doesn't do anything. The problem is he created a movie. See, I'm not a horror fan, but he created 101 Frights as a list. And if you look at his 2000s, it has to be the biggest joke of all time. The guy doesn't know horror, and how does he get to establish a list for the community to follow? It is gross. He's got Haunted Mansion on there and like Monster House. The dude needs help, and he should never be in charge of a list again. On that note, thank you for the win. I love that you threw mediocre list, but everybody seemed to last week got a pass from you and be like, oh, I expect this, it's fine. And then you come in a week later and try to throw a spear at us? No, sir. We did fine last week based on your opinions on us.
Sir, this is the Wendy's. Second place last week.
I'll take a large number 2. Thank you.
It's Jack. Jack, you came in second. Strong start for you considering where you were this time last spring. How do you feel about your list this week?
Honestly, here's the thing. I feel good about my list every week. Can't say the same about what you think of it, but I think you're not going to hate this week. I don't think I'll get last with this list.
All right.
Major list off the list.
Third place last week was Scott. Scott, again, it was a terrible list. Nothing really egregious. Something to build upon. Or are you going to do it this week?
I certainly hope so. I'm not used to coming in third either with you hosting, mainly because last time I was here, I came in first. It seemed like every single time. So I just have to maybe I'm going to have to realize I'm going to have to work a little harder this time. But you know what? That's fine.
And then we got...
Leave now, Chris. Leave now. Just leave now, Chris.
You can. We have to stay. Speaking of Jake, last place finish for last week, but it was only 1 week. We can turn things around. Or tell me, please, we're going to turn things around.
Well, we'll see. I think after last week, everyone really liked the idea of having 2 scenes from Hulk on my top 100. I think people really, were getting into that. We'll see how this goes. There's only one way to go up. So,
hopefully. We'll see about that.
Arguing.
All right, so we're going to go get into this week's episode. We are doing number 90 through 81. Remember, the entire show is under a spoiler alert, so keep that in mind as you see banners popping up and movies that you don't want spoiled for you. So we're going to start with Jack. Giving us your bottom 3, 90 through 88, please.
All right. Oh, boy. My number 90 is Olive's Dance from Little Miss Sunshine.
Kingsman.
My
Kingsman
89
check.
is I Drink Your Milkshake from There Will Be Blood.
Yeah. Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah, figured. And my 88 is I Dream a Dream from Les Miserables. Anyway, my 90 is Olive's Dance from from Little Miss Sunshine. This whole movie's fantastic, but it's this scene that just puts a smile on my face, and I don't understand why, because it's just so charming. Abigail Breslin in this scene is so just the innocent charm of that character is just so intoxicating. And then when her entire family starts coming up on stage to dance with her, it's just so much fun to watch. Especially when you watch it with your entire family. It's an experience, that's for sure. Just overall fantastic scene. And then I Dreamed a Dream. There's a lot of shit that gets said about Les Miserables 2012, rightfully or not, I don't care. This scene is incredible. Anne Hathaway is giving her all in this scene. This is easily my favorite scene in the film. It never fails to make me tear up, and it's just, it's one of my earliest experiences with a musical, and the scene has always stood out to me.
Okay. U90, Little Miss Sunshine. Great scene. I love the movie, and I think this is such a perfect payoff. Just everything, watching that whole family go through everything they do separately and together, and all the struggles, and they all kind of come together. It's I love found family movies, and I feel it's like this, like a found family of a movie of a family that already happens to be a family, but they still discover each other. And I think this dance is such a just a great amplification of them accepting each other, accepting themselves, and just their weirdness and everything that's, the world doesn't accept about them, but they accept about themselves. They come to accept about themselves. And I really love that about this scene. So I think that's a good pick. I Dreamed a Dream. Yes, say what you want about this movie. We're not doing top 100 movies. We're doing top 100 scenes. This scene is fantastic. First of all, the one thing I think the movie does right is it moves the placement of this song. In the stage version, this song happens basically right after she gets fired and before her life completely goes to hell. So it's still great, but it doesn't have the impact it does when they move it to the end where everything. Cody, stop rolling your eyes. No, it's a fantastic. And she is killing it. Like the way they filmed it, just having it straight on her face the whole time. The emotion, the rage, the anger, the sadness she's shown, a little bit of hope she throws in there, hopefulness. Just so much going on. I'm not a big fan of giving people Oscars for one scene. I have no problem. She nailed it here, and she totally deserved the Oscar. Okay, Cody. Jacobs, thank you so much. I'm going to give you extra points for putting this at 88 so Cody couldn't talk. Because I'm sure whatever he has to say right now is completely wrong. But speaking of Cody, so good start, Jack. Speaking of Cody talking and possibly being wrong, Cody, give us your 93.
Yes, the musical that is one of the best of all time. It's the movement from the movie made it better. Great.
Ask you how you are. You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
I hate this show. It's the last season. Dance. I'm doing number 90 dance scene from RRR.
Yikes.
Beautiful.
Yikes for this episode.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. My 89 is the opening scene to Jaws. And my 88, I should get one person on my side. Norman's on sabbatical. Spider-Man.
Wait, what is the scene are we talking?
Taped to the hand, the fight ensues.
Okay,
inside the apartment.
Including the fire. Okay, that's a yikes.
Okay, so I guess I will just talk about 89, and maybe I'll save some time at the end to talk about Dream to Dream. No, I'm just kidding. Opening to Jaws. I think this builds. I think I brought this list up to a few people, and they're like, "Really, the opening of Jaws?" And yes, after rewatching this, I think it sets up everything in the movie. The introduction to the score, just simple. The creature below, you know something's lurking. You can't see it. You have no idea. It creates such a tension without ever seeing the shark at that point, but you know exactly what's going on. It sets the ball rolling for all the movie going forward. I think it sets that real fear every time you hear that cue of the music, that you know it's coming. And I think it's a brilliant open. Just kids like, oh, we're just gonna have fun, but no, there's something out there that is not gonna allow you to have fun this weekend. So,
sorry, I just want to quickly say I actually want to apologize. I was wrong. I got rid of it from my top 100. You can talk about the Spider-Man scene.
Oh,
I said
you
to
don't
double
get
check.
Coco, okay.
I thought I had it, but I got rid of it on my.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
You got rid of
and then
Spider-Man scene.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
so 88. So this movie itself has just an unfair advantage on a lot of movies just because it completed my childhood. When the villains from all these movies are inside the apartment and they're all trying, and Peter's just being nice, fixing all the villains from their problems. Though there's one person that doesn't need fixing and not okay with fixing, and it's Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. And when he sits there and when Peter Parker has the senses go off and looks over and basically just tapes, webs his hand to the thing, and then he's like, Norman's on sabbatical, honey. And like the ensuing fight that happens throughout this, I think it's the best throughout all of the Spider-Man since like that battle. Yes. You'll get to talk in a second.
No.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
Okay. Of all the Raimi, everything, the battle that ensues between him and Peter is fantastic. The whole way through the battle, the ending, and how it ends with Aunt May, I think it's just absolutely brilliant where it cuts through. I think this is the best that Willem Dafoe is in playing Goblin in this movie. I think he's had years to sit on it, and I think he comes back in a rare form. Again, and it's just him and Peter. It's the ultimate Spider versus Green Goblin. So, 88.
Okay. Jaws, great pick. And I agree. You hit the nail right on the head. This sets the movie up perfectly. I think this doesn't get talked about enough as one of like the all-time great horror movie kills, because it's like legit terrifying. Like she's dying in front of you. She's like screaming, "Oh my god, I don't want to die!" It's just so like sad and pathetic. You're watching this person die,
and the change of direction. In the water,
just how she's being told, just like the complete helplessness and desperation. She sells that so well. I don't know the actress' name, but we should, because she's that good. And like you said, it sets things up where they can. I think that's what allows like the movie to kind of reset from there and slow build, and you don't see a lot of stuff because the knowledge and the memory of that death is just subconsciously in your brain through the entire movie. So that kind of from the very beginning what you're up against, and you don't have to see much after that. That death shows so much. So I think that's a great pick. When I first saw your list, I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. Then after I saw it, I rewatched Jaws, and I'm like, yeah, that's a fantastic pick. I could take this a lot higher, actually. Now, Spider-Man: No Way Home, the Norman on sabbatical scene. I didn't remember this from when I saw it in the theater, and I went back and I rewatched it on YouTube, and I realized I was in the bathroom during the scene, and I don't feel like I missed that much. Like it's just. I don't have the connection to Green Goblin and the Raimi Spider-Man that you guys do, and I mean it's not a bad scene, but like if you lined up like top 10 Raimi Spider-Man villain scenes, I did not. I would not. I wouldn't. Wouldn't really grab my attention. So I was really this is what I was surprised to see on your list, because I feel like there's better. Norman Osborn Spider-Man stuff that I'm sure Jake will get to. Yes, Cody.
So, two things. One, I'm fine. That's okay. You can take that away from me at 88. I'm good with that. Only thing that does is screw one Australian real bad if you don't have the connection to the Raimi trilogy. And so you know what? I will take my L on this 88 and move on. Thank you, sir. We're good.
All right. Speaking of Australian, Jake, that takes us to your 90 through 88.
90 to 88. I really enough just set them up. The next three are just montages. I don't know if I didn't really do that intentionally, but 90 is the Every Time montage from Spring Breakers. Number 89, it's the first of many, the superhero montage from Spider-Man. And the 88, my number 88 is the time loop montage from Palm Springs.
Go ahead.
So 90. This is just like completely in contrast with the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie plays a lot of Skrillex. In this scene, James Franco is starting to play Britney Spears every time on the piano out the sunset. The girls want him to play something beautiful, something inspiring, and he starts playing it every time, which is honestly my favorite Britney Spears song. And as he plays and sings it with the girls, you just start seeing them commit crimes, whether it is robbing people in their like motels and shit, and just grabbing guns and jumping up on beds, all the while in slow motion. And it's just like this weird juxtaposition of this song, this really beautiful, endearing like song plays while they're committing like horrible crimes in like beautiful slow motion. It's really just like in contrast with the rest of the movie, and I just find it to be like an incredible scene on its own. So my number 89, the superhero montage from Spider-Man. I think this is a really great scene showing just how Spider-Man affects the public, how people view him through his like super heroic acts, and he also just acts as the introduction to him as Spider-Man. Like after the funeral, after he has to talk with Aunt May, you see him with the suit, and then you just start seeing interviews with just random civilians saying, "I saw him build a nest at the Lincoln Center fountain," and then you have the Lucy Lawless cameo where he's like, "Guy with 8 hands sounds hot." And it's just like, it really just creates the personality. My favorite guy is the cowboy guitarist in the subway who's singing his like weird Spider-Man song. It just really is funny. I just really like to see him just, solve crimes and, stop burglars. It's just like really creates him as a superhero. And I just think it's really well done. Raimi just knew how to do it. And then 88, I just find this to be really funny and really fun. The time loop montage from Palm Springs. At this point, Sarah has just realized that we're in this time loop that nothing we do matters. Our life is meaningless. Let's just like do nothing and just have fun. You see Sarah hold a 1 millionth birthday for Niles. You see them ruin Sarah's sister's wedding by pretending to creating like foreplay, some sort of cosplay with an explosion, and she's dressed as a pirate. And just really fun stuff. And it's just like, it's the stuff that I think we've all imagined, like if we were stuck in a time loop, what we kind of would do in that situation where there are no stakes to anything. We can just fuck around. And I think it's just, it's fun. And you see these two characters connect really throughout this montage.
All right. Spring Breakers. Visually, it's great. It's shot really well. Like you said, the juxtaposition. I just have trouble, like, at this point in the movie, like, I don't care enough about the characters to, like, tolerate what they're doing. So, like, the reality of that kind of, like, stops me from, like, completely enjoying the scene. But I think it's, like, cinematically, and like you said with the song and everything, I think it looks really well. It's really well done. The Spider-Man montage, I had to ask you this week, like, what is this? Like, I didn't even know what we were talking about. I know you love Spider-Man, but I just don't get it for this scene because there's barely a Spider-Man. I don't like any of these characters. I don't like any of the jokes. I don't care about any of this stuff. I honestly think not No Way Home, but Homecoming does this story, like this part of the Spider-Man story, better than Raimi does. I think it's a lot more organic. I think it's more about focus on the character than these dumb people. So yeah, I know there's gonna be more Spider-Man scenes. I hope to better than this one. Palm Springs, another one threw me for a loop. I watched this movie when you gave me your list. I hadn't seen it yet, and so I watched like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, which montage even is this? And it's just weird if you're going to pick a time loop montage. You have Groundhog Day. You have Live, Die, Repeat. You have
different
Happy
movies.
Happy Death Day to You. I mean, I think there's a lot more like fun. It's done a lot more in fun, interesting ways in those movies. I don't even know if this is the best time loop montage in this movie. There's several of them. I don't know if this is the best one. Again, it's not terrible, but it's just weird that this is the time loop montage that you're going to pick. So, strange start for you, Jake. Scott, let's move on to you, 90 through 88.
Factual. All right. My number 90 is the funeral scene from Big Fish. At 89, I have the beach encounter from It Follows. At 88, I have I'm calling it the love and attention scene from Ladybird. Yeah. All right, number 90. Big Fish is probably my favorite movie that I've watched for trivia that I can remember. Because I did not expect that I was going to like this movie at all. I don't like Tim Burton. I don't like movies that take place in Alabama or anything that presents Alabama in a positive light. However, I enjoyed the movie a lot and was very emotionally invested in it, despite it not being the type of thing that I usually get emotionally invested in. But anyway, this final scene, this funeral scene is, of course, spoiler alert, after the main character's father has passed away, and Ewan McGregor, the main character, I can't remember what his name is even at this point, but they attend the funeral and they see that all the characters and the stories that he's been telling were actually real people. And of course, the whole movie is kind of about his journey and discovering that a lot of this stuff was real that his father was telling him the whole time. But they're all there at the funeral. They're all slightly different from how he described them. They all have just like one or two things that are not, that clearly he embellished for the sake of the story. But the point is that the bulk of the story was true, and the spirit of all the stories were true. And the Ewan McGregor character finally appreciates that at the end of the movie, and his journey is complete. And so I think it's a really moving scene, the way that they all show up and he's kind of wowed by it. 89. Yes, it is Bar. The beach scene from It Follows. The genius of It Follows is that it keeps you watching the entire frame for like the entire movie, because you don't know at what point the person could be following them, or who the person is that's following them. There's just a lot of things that keep you on your toes the whole time, and that's never more present than in this scene when they're on the beach. They're seemingly, they've kind of escaped it for now. They're trying to enjoy themselves, and you see one of the characters, Yara, from the group, approaching behind from the bushes, basically approaching Jay, Micah Monroe's character. But of course, you're in that position of, well, she's one of the characters, like she's one of the main characters. Is this actually the specter following them, or is it just the friend? And then eventually the camera pans around and you see that Yara, their friend, is in the water, and therefore the person approaching them from behind is actually the specter, the villain. And then there's that great image of Micah Monroe's hair, Micah Monroe's hair getting lifted into the air by the unseen, specter. So, and there's a nice, sort of chase sequence afterwards, and a couple of good scares in there. But it just really highlights the genius of what is one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and favorite movies of all time, honestly. And 88. Lady Bird, like I mentioned last week with Zodiac, is one of those movies. It's obviously one of my favorites. I had a little bit of difficulty finding a scene to pick from it, because I don't know that there is that scene. I mean, maybe the airport scene, but anyway, this is the one that stands out to me and resonates to me as what I love. It's a really short scene between Lady Bird and the nun, played by Lois Smith. But basically, the gist of it is, the nun is telling her that she read the college essay, and you clearly love Sacramento. Lady Bird's like, I do. And she's like, well, yeah, the way you write about it. And she says, well, I was just describing it. And then it ends up with that, sentiment that love and attention, don't you think they're the same thing? Which obviously is a metaphor for like so much of what's going on in the movie, and particularly Lady Bird's relationship with her mom. So I love that little, one-liner. And again, just that line of "I was just describing it." I think that's so profound. The fact that you can just tell what someone's feelings are based on the way they talk about someone or some place. Even though Lady Bird presents as like not liking Sacramento and being really emo about the whole thing, her actual words when she puts her feelings down spell it out differently. So again, yeah, everything that the movie is about is kind of contained in this 2 to 3 minute scene.
All right. Big Fish. I rewatched this last week. I hadn't seen it probably since it came out. And I remember the funeral scene. And that's what stuck out to me the first time. That's what I remember, is how like the stories kind of translated into reality. I thought that was really cool. I mean, I do feel that the scene before that with the story and the river and everything and the fish, I think that has That's what really got me choked up. But I mean, this is still a good scene. I mean, this is still just like you said, seeing all the people from his past come together and like in reality interact with the people from his life. I like that. That was pretty touching. So again, not the scene I would have picked from it, but still pretty solid. It Follows. I also really like this movie. I think it's a really good horror movie. I don't know. I think the effect, the whole Spectre effect, is done a little bit better in other parts of the movie. But I do like just the way it's shot. Like when they show, like you're talking about when the one kid's like in the foreground and they show the girl just float by in the background. I think is really cool. And then like it's always the Spectre's always scary when it's coming up on you. I do think that some of the invisibility stuff when the hair goes up and she's wrestling looks a little hokey. My biggest problem with it though is just as far as like, you know, like dumb decisions in horror movies, you know, when she corners herself in that building, because it's like, this is a monster that the way to defeat it is to jog or walk briskly and you're going to be okay. And the fact that she does the only thing that can kill you is corner, and she does. But no, it's still, I mean, it's a great jump scare when she's looking down in that hole in the wall and it jumps through. That's pretty cool. So like I said, I like the movie. Not a horrible pick for the scene. There's others I would have picked from it, but that's the bad one. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Ladybird. Yeah, like you said, this is one of those movies when we started talking about best scenes, I think Cody and some other people were talking about how there's some movies that are just really good with some of your favorites. And because it's so good the whole way through, it's hard to pick out a scene. I think Ladybird, like you said, is like that. Because I like it probably, you know, you and I probably have very similar views on this. But no, this is a good scene. I just love her relationship with that nun character, the mother superior, whatever she is, the principal of the school, because she's because just it's the whole movie is just Ladybird like pushing and seeing how which, you know, just kind of like expanding her boundaries, see how far she can get, and this character won't let her. Like she can't do it with her. Like she's just like she's like seen it all. She knows what she's doing. She knows why she's doing it. She knows what her goal is, and she's just like accepted her and just whatever she does. It's like, yeah, it's okay. I can live with that. And it's like she's impossible to rebel against. I think that's pretty cool for this character who's rebelling against everything. So yeah, from a scene that's hard to pick a good movie or a movie it's hard to pick a good scene from. Pretty good scene to pick. So now we are going to get into the meat of the order, so to speak. Glove comes off. Everybody gets to comment on everything in this segment. Jack, hit us with your 87.
Muted.
Whoops. Sorry. Sorry about that. My 87 is Stuck in the Middle with You from Reservoir Dogs. All right. Yeah, no, this is a great moment in this film, and the scene that sticks out in my head for fairly obvious reasons. It's a incredibly brutal scene. Michael Madsen is in the room alone with what he believes to be a corpse and a cop that's tied up in the chair, and he puts on the radio and starts listening to super sounds of the 70s, and the second Stuck in the Middle with You starts playing, he starts dancing and he starts cutting the cop, and he cuts the cop's ear off, and it's a brutal scene that spoiler alert for whoever hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs, mute now, that ends with Michael Madsen's Mr. Blonde's death, and it's shocking. It comes out of absolutely nowhere, and your jaw's on the floor the entire time. And when he cuts off the cop's ear, the camera just stays in one place, and you hear it from off screen, and it's just the most unsettling thing in this film. Great moment. And I can never listen to that song the same way again after watching that film.
Yeah, absolutely. This scene owns the song. That anybody, there's nothing else that you can, there's a lot of songs that remind you of movies, but I don't think there's a song that belongs to a scene the way this song does. Yeah, and this is it's Tarantino's first movie, but it's still, this is like his iconic style of just the way he takes like the ultra violence, but also just like the minutia of, you ever listen to Katy Billy super sounds in the 70s? Something as simple and mundane as that radio station just makes it horrifying, and him down there tuning it in. and the way it's shot. Like you said, the part where he like walks out, like the music is playing, he walks out, the music stops, he gets a gas can, and he walks back in with the camera following. And then like how the camera looks away, like the camera can't even watch what's happening when he's cutting the air off. And it's just like that kind of restraint. Tarantino's not known for restraint, but that kind of restraint is great. And then of course it ends with the shooting, and that's the reveal, right? It's been a while since I've seen it. Like that's how you find out that Orange is the cop, right? Yeah. I think that's just a brilliant way to do that because then it goes into his flashbacks. So yeah, great. Just like you said, solid, moment for music. Just a great super violent scene. Perfectly constructed. So I think I'm shocked. I thought for sure I thought there was no chance of this not getting yikes.
I didn't think I was talking about it this week.
Yeah. So everybody else, why didn't you have this one?
No, this is great. This is fantastic. You know why? You were so passionate and happy. He hasn't since 87. This is great because everything to come, shit. Okay, anyways. This is not the best scene from Reservoir Dogs. I'm just going to say it. This is not the best scene from Reservoir Dogs. There's a way better scene in Reservoir Dogs for me. I think there's actually 2 better scenes in Reservoir Dogs. So overall, I couldn't. It was hard to pick. It was on my early. I scratched it, but I think there's a better scene to talk about, and I'll talk about that probably later.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I love Tarantino. You're going to see plenty of Tarantino scenes on my list, but this is one of my least favorite of his movies, actually. Actually, even though it's a great scene, it does kind of highlight, that this is a meaner and nastier film than I think some of his other movies, and which is probably why I don't like it as much. So it is a great scene, but you're going to see plenty of other Tarantino scenes on my list that I just enjoy more.
Someone needs to just calm down, Chris Diaz. Like I had one scene from Venom. Okay, just calm your fucking ass. This is a great scene, and if we were doing 100 best scenes of all time, this would make it. But we're doing favorites. I'm picking lists. I'm picking scenes that are really indicative of just my taste in film and who I am. I'm sorry if I didn't yikes it. It's the same reason why I didn't yikes The Lion King when we did the top 100 originally.
Let's not be disrespectful. That was a shot that didn't need to be taken. By the way, I'm here. I'm sitting right here. Listen, Jack, can you just do the 3 of us a favor? Can you put us in a group chat on Facebook and send us the link that you made your list from, so we can know what's coming, so we can watch like these iconic scenes? Thanks.
Bar at Steelers Wheel.
Jack, what is your 86?
All right. My 86 is the highway chase from The Batman. Yeah. This scene is fantastic. I'm sorry. There is not a moment there are very few moments I've had recently in the theater where just chills. I've just had absolute chills watching a scene. The second the Batmobile is revealed, you haven't seen the Batmobile the entire time in this film. The second it's revealed, the engine fires up and the score kicks in from Giacchino. It's fantastic. You've got Batman chasing Penguin down a highway, and there's not much to the scene. It's an action scene. You've got a lot of crashes, and it's a lot of fun to watch. But that score is fantastic, and Colin Farrell is absolutely unhinged in this scene, and it's just so much fun to watch. Just one of the best experiences I've had in the theater, and it holds up so well on every rewatch.
Yeah, this is an odd one for top 100. Again, it's. I hate when you guys do this. You put on scenes that are like fine, so I don't have a whole lot of horrible things to say about it. But like top 100, the absolute best part of it is the reveal the Batmobile. That was amazing when like just lights come on, you just hear that engine popping, and it's so loud. The theater is so loud, and just revving that engine. Because this might be my favorite movie, Batmobile. Because like the Burton, I like Batman '89, but still the Burton and Schumacher ones were just all too weird, and the Nolan one was boring. It was just a tank. So like the fact like this is like just a car that he's like a real car, like a muscle car that he souped up. And I love that. The chase scene itself is fun and exciting. I do think Colin Farrell's good in his Penguin. I just like him just the terror, the excitement of trying to get Batman is really good. My biggest problem is a lot of people die on that highway, and it's kind of Batman's fault. I can't overlook that. And I know the whole thing, well, he was young and inexperienced. Yeah, but he always had the same principles, and he might have made mistakes, but he wasn't purposely put people's lives in jeopardy. Because you look at the end of that chase scene, it's really the only possible outcome for what they're doing is a lot of people dying fiery deaths. And he knows where Penguin hangs out every night, so there's really no reason why he had to get him right then. So that really is what really makes the scene hard for me to swallow. Everybody else on the highway chase scene in The Batman.
It's fine. It's okay.
Thank God that
on this one.
Thank God that explosion happened so you can see what the fuck's going on, because the Batman doesn't pay for lighting throughout this entire movie at all. Yeah, it's cheap. It's fast cameras. It's this cool action. Oh, he burst through the flames at one point. What? Sure, I understand. The Batman changed cinema for people, and I'm so happy that comic book movies finally found this after 10 years of looking. But Gotham's a character, and in this scene, they don't pay for lighting. It's so hard to see what's going on, and after the explosion, you can finally see what's going on. But it's so chaotic, and I know that's probably the style they were going for. But 2 hours into the movie, I wanted to just, end it, because I hate how long this movie is. So I can't even tell you where this part is, because I can't stand it that much. But thanks for putting Stuck in the Middle of you at 87 and this at 86. I appreciate that, though.
I just want to say, I am the first person to complain about lighting in these movies, but this is clearly an aesthetic choice. It clearly is. The movie is drenched in darkness and emo music and everything, and that's fine if you don't like that, Cody. It's fine if you don't like that.
You give one movies passes for it, and give your movies that you like you give it a pass, but the movies that you don't like, I can't see. It's dark. I hate it.
It's clearly an aesthetic choice. There's no reason that something should be that dark.
You don't think every other movie has an aesthetic choice of making it that dark?
No, Thor. I do not think Thor: Love and Thunder is making
never seen it, but
choice when its scenes look like shit. This is a choice anyway. It's a
so they chose to make this look like shit. That makes sense.
Well, in your opinion, I don't think it is bad lighting, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's a choice. But I like the scene. I like the movie. I think this scene is very immersive. I really love the way it puts you right in the moment, and yeah, that's what I think a good action scene should do. So I don't think it's a bad choice at all, even if I like my highway chase scene that I had last week a little bit better.
Wow, I did not expect to get so heated about the lighting in the Batman.
Well, because Scott sat there last week and goes, "Oh, it's an MCU movie, so it's poorly lit and it's blah blah blah." But this one's aesthetic, cool.
It is.
Yes.
You don't just sit there in the theater and be like, you know what, I'm gonna make. You know what? Fuck, we fucked up lighting. We're just it's dark for fucking the whole movie. We'll just make it because it's Batman.
Are you sure about that?
You really don't.
And I'm not Kaleb Koho. I'm Caleb. I didn't watch this movie on my computer like Kaleb Koho at 2 times speed. I watched it on my TV, and it's still terrible.
As you should.
And in the theater. Bad.
Jack, number 85.
All right, my number 85 is A Night at the Opera from Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. All right, this is probably the most underrated action set piece in the later Mission Impossible films, mostly because of the slow build that this one has. But when it crescendos with the assassination attempt on the Chancellor in, I can't remember what fucking country it is. I can't remember.
Also 2 points.
Whatever. Anyway, when it crescendos with the assassination attempt on the Chancellor, and it's got some brilliant fight choreography with Tom Cruise. It's got just a great. It's a great scene of building tension with the other shooters in the building, and you see Ilsa in the line of fire, and the second gun on the Chancellor. And it's just a expertly crafted scene at building tension, and yeah, I have a great time with it every time.
All right, there's another one. It's a good action scene, but I mean, if you took 10 random action scenes from Mission Impossible movies and put them in a lineup, I would not look at this one and think it's anything special. I don't think it's the best Mission Impossible action scene. I think there's a lot of other. Maybe you have more on your list, but I don't think this is the Mission Impossible action scene. I like the opera. I can't remember the name of this opera, but I really like the music from it. I like that play in the background. I like how they put the Japanese aesthetic into it. And yeah, I mean the cool with him moving on the lights and everything. There's some cool stuff there. It's a decent set piece, but I honestly don't even know if we were doing top 100 action scenes, if this would make the cut for me. So again, not a bad scene, Jack, but 85 all time, little high.
All right.
Everybody else, what do you think about the lighting in this scene?
It's terrible,
Good aesthetic. Good aesthetic. That's what they were going for.
I don't know. I don't know anyone can say the scene is underrated. I feel like this is pretty rated well. People like the scene. I know, there's a great essay about the scene by Nerdwrite on YouTube that I like. But I don't know. It's a good scene. It creates really good tension. You don't know how Ethan's going to solve this situation because he's got two shooters. How do I stop both? I've only got one bullet. It's done well. I just don't think I would have added it to my top 200 or 400 favorite scenes.
I like that. Go ahead.
Okay, this is my favorite Mission Impossible movie, and I think this is a fantastic scene. I do like one scene more on that later, but I do think this is a fantastic scene, and because it's more based on suspense than it is action, with some of the other Mission Impossible set pieces, and it's also an ode to The Man Who Knew Too Much, the Hitchcock film, and the final scene that sort of takes place there in the opera house. So I think that's why maybe if you're ranking it alongside action scenes, it's a little different from that, and that's why I like it. But there is one scene I like more from the movie.
Jack went to the school of not sounding like Kaleb Koho, like an idiot on the show, because he's I think this scene falls in the underrated of the later. He just put so much context around that you can't really find a bunch of. Where does that list start? Where the scenes where it can be cut off. Rogue Nation's my favorite of it. I think this is the best one. I like the scene a lot, but overall I didn't Spy. I think what makes the scene interesting is the sneaking while the performance is going on. But overall, I don't think that rises to a high level to be oh, this is crazy. It's just it's a great one-off, but not my not my top tier, and didn't even come close to making my list. There's scenes from Mission Impossible that would have, but yeah, not this one.
Jake, did you say?
Oh yeah, I said my stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jack. That takes us to your 84 already.
All right. My number 84 is the phone bomb from Munich. I mentioned a scene that's really great at building tension. This scene blows that one out of the water in that regard, but it's incredibly tense. Trying to find words for this right now. When sorry,
do you think that smoking drugs is cool?
Not yet, but soon. No, I'm just having trouble formulating words here. This is a great scene with building tension. Kirk, can you please talk for me? I'm having a lot of trouble just formulating words. I just need to take a drink quick. I'll be right
Sure.
back.
Yeah, this is not a scene I would have thought of when I was formulating my list, or if I was formulating my list, or I was thinking about possible scenes that would come up in the show. This is, but it's still like Jack said, it's a good tension builder. Just the way that if you're not familiar with the scene, that's the Mossad and they're hunting Nazis. They find one. They have a phone. They have a bomb near his phone, so they have to call him to get him on the phone, and then they're going to blow him up. The monkey wrench is that the daughter's supposed to leave the house, but she comes back looking for something they call. So are they going to be able to stop him in time or not? Is like the big centerpiece of the scene. And yeah, it's good. Just the way like the people are placed different. Like one guy's the phone booth, one guy's the car, one guy's the lookout, one guy in the car has the bomb, and they all have to kind of communicate. So yeah, it is very tense, very dramatic. Honestly, I went rewatched it. I couldn't remember if the little girl died or not. If they were able to save her. So, but yeah, I mean, 84, I think it's a pretty good scene. Like I said, not what I would have thought of, but pretty decent. Everybody else on Munich Phone Bomb.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen the film.
Jack, did you want to finish up on this?
No, I heard most of what you said, and honestly, covered most of what I wanted to say. So yeah, no, one of a great Spielberg film and one of his best directed scenes.
90% of the time, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
You're not wrong.
I think overall, like it's really shot. It's shot really well. I think like I like when I don't Eric Bana and who else is standing outside the
Karen Hines.
They're just like staring and looking at each other and be like, and then they go up and then it explodes. Like I think it's shot. It looks really cool. The tension's there. I just think overall, I think there's movies that create tension like that a little bit more. Like overall, so I didn't even think about it when I came across the making my list. I mean, I think Munich is an okay movie. I don't love it as much as some, but I think it deserves a watch every once in a while. Like if you haven't seen it, but Phone Bomb's okay.
So I actually took my headphones off at first because I started watching this movie last night, and I got about halfway for the first time. I got about halfway through, but then I realized that I saw this scene. This was like one of the last scenes I watched. But I'm really enjoying the movie. I think it's obviously really well done. It's Spielberg, but the only thing I would say about this scene is that it builds everything up really effectively, and then it's kind of just like anticlimactic. It's just like, oh well, they got out of it. The mission was accomplished. They blew up the guy. The end. So it builds it up really well, but then I don't know. The denouement is just a little bit flat, I guess. But again, I'm excited to watch the rest of the movie because I really like it.
Jake, you said you haven't seen it, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I do want to. I really do want to watch this.
Remember, if any of us gets laid tonight, it's because of Eric Bana in Munich. Cody, your number 87.
Okay, so my 87 is the wallet scene in Catch Me If You Can.
Okay.
So Catch Me If You Can, there was a hard time like deciding what like scene, but I think this was the clear cut to go with. Basically, Hanks is on to where he's at, goes to the hotel room, goes in and starts looking around. He's got all the checks and everything like he's been forging this entire time. He knows he's in the right spot. Guy comes out, I think out of the bathroom. I think it's Leo. He comes out of the bathroom and he's like, let me see your hands. And Leo, being the con man he is in this film, he just is like, oh yeah, Secret Service, So you think you're the only ones onto this guy? And starts like checking out. He goes, let me see your credentials. And just passes him the wallet and says, you hold on to it. I'm good. And he doesn't go through it at all. Then he goes and instructs, he goes, hey, he's getting taken to the car right now. And they're putting the blind guy into the car at the perfect time. He yells to him. There's this back and forth. And he's like, hey, let me just get this stuff down to evidence and I'll be back. And he's like, your wallet. He's like, I trust you. Just hold on to it for me real quick. And he opens it up and it's got all the labels to every condiment or stuff in the room. And he flips out and loses it. I just think it's such a great acting performance from Hanks and Leo at the same time together, where they're just Hanks is got him. This is it. It's over. And able to get away again. It's just, I think it's brilliant how they interact with each other, especially how quick the dialogue works where he's like, no, Secret Service, we're good. And it just doesn't, and he gets away and then moves the story along. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not as high on this movie as everybody else. Back to Spielberg. That's cool. But I still enjoy it, and I think this scene again. This is a scene I thought of, but I think this scene out of everything just encapsulates A, their relationship, and B, just what Leo's character does and how well he does it. How he comes out of the bathroom and he's on, and he has that character ready to go. And the other thing I love is when he's facing Hanks, he's completely confident and going, but then he like turns around to get a glass of water, and you just see that his face drop, and you see all the stress of like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. He takes the water and he turns around and he turns it right back on. And then, like when he's about to leave, he's like, hey, your wallet. And his face just drops like, oh, this is it. And then he's like, don't forget your wallet. And so, yeah, I think it's just the best like snapshot of Leo's character in this movie and how quickly he's able to quiet it. It makes you understand why he gets away with everything else in this movie because of how easily he plays Hanks. And I love that moment where Hanks is sitting on the bed afterwards and he's like kind of like smiling and like, congratulating himself for a job well done. And then the light bulb comes on and he opens the wallet up. Like you said, he sees the labels and the labels all missing from the room and it clicks and it's too late. But yeah, no, it's a really good scene. Everybody else on Catch Me If You Can.
I haven't seen this movie in a long time. And I did like it at the time, but I don't even really remember specific scenes from it. I'm sure I would enjoy it even more if I saw it now in this scene, but I can't really comment on it, I guess.
This is probably the best scene from the movie. At least this is my favorite scene. Just the way the way DiCaprio is able to play Hanks in the scene, and just like, I know I'm this smart a man, and how he plays through that, and he's just really well done. It's been a while since I've seen Catch Me If You Can. So I'm not a Kingsman, so I don't really like talk about this as one of the best Spielberg movies ever made, unfortunately. But I do think it is a great scene, and it's definitely
no one in the world that I don't hate right now.
Thank you. This is the best scene in the movie, and really just shows how well Spielberg can do with actors and direction. So.
This is a fantastic scene. It was on an early draft of my list. Fell off, unfortunately, but I'm glad Cody put it on because it's fantastic. It's between this and when Frank sits down for lunch with his father. That goes back and forth for my favorite scene in the film, but this is more often than not the pick. It's a fantastic scene.
All right, Cody, 86.
Always be closing. Glengarry, Glen Ross.
No, I saw that.
You talk about one scene performances. This is it. I think this is absolutely a scene that deserves a ton. It gets memed a lot. A lot of people like quote it and stuff like that. But this scene, when you look back on it, I think it's brilliant. I think Alec Baldwin comes in and just gives a performance. And I love the dynamic of the scene. So, like, yes, what he's saying is like harsh and like in your face and like exactly, but he's saying this to Alan Arkin, Jack Lemmon, and Ed Harris. Basically, any job, it's always feel like a job that people have been on the job for so long, and there's a new management and it's young, basically, and they have to tell the people that, hey, what you're fucking doing isn't working, and this is what needs to change. And it starts basically when he's like, put that fucking coffee down, and Lemon like looks at him and goes, what the fuck are you coffee's for closers, and just lets them all have it. And he's like, the prize for this, they brought me in because of your guys aren't doing the job that required. And then he goes to the contest, and it's like one of my favorite scenes. Is like, first place, car. Second place, steak knives. Third place, don't show up again, you're fired. And it's just like everybody's like, because it's people that have been like on their been just like at the job. They don't feel like they're just going through the same stuff, and they like finding blames for everything. And like Lemon tells him, the leads are weak. The leads aren't weak, you're weak. And like just basically, and then he's like, Ed Harris goes, you're so rich, why are you here? And he like holds up the watch. He goes, you see this? costs more than your car. I made $970,000 last year. Like, because that's why I'm here. And just like, he berates everybody in that scene, but he basically tells them, like, this is it. You're either here, you're going to sell, or you're going to be gone. And it's the only scene he's in the movie. He shows up one time, he drops the mic and walks out, and I think it's a brilliant scene. Like, to this day, I still like, and I love the movie, so people say, like, this is the best scene in the movie. It is, and it like drops downhill. I like where it goes throughout the whole movie because it sets up everything after this, like the desperation on Lemon, what he does to like steal the leads and does all the stuff. And the one thing I love about this scene is there's one person missing from this scene. There's one person that's missing, and it's the correct choice to miss, because the one person in the office you don't yell at like this is Pacino, and Pacino's not in it, because if Pacino, it doesn't work. You need the three older, like the weaker members of the team, because as much as I would love the square off between Pacino and him, Pacino's like, I hit my numbers, don't fucking talk to me, basically. So I think it's a brilliant way they do the scene, and it got a lot of hype before I even watched the movie. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, this scene's great. Just tells you so much about everything. Like his performance, the lines. He's like, "What? You gonna tell me you're a good father? F you, go home and play with your kids." And like just how he's like, just the most awful like version of everything, like the worst like job, the worst boss. And as much as you hate him, what I love about this scene is it makes you hate Spacey's character, because he just standing back there with that smug look on his face, and he can't do this. He doesn't have the guts to do this. It's like when you're on the playground and there's like a little kid like messing with you, and you go after him, and his big brother shows up, and the big brother's backing you off, and the little brother's like behind him making faces and stuff. That's Spacey in this scene, because he could never do. These guys would all eat him for breakfast, so he just like smugly like, oh look, I got this guy to do it for me. And like you said, it just sets up everything they do, because it shows just how awful this world is, and just how cutthroat and just how ugly what they have to do is. So you kind of understand, where they go from here based on the speech. And yeah, like you said, Ricky Roma, he's the one that is good at his job. He doesn't need threatened like this. And that's kind of the sick thing, is that like Baldwin's character really believes that like he's doing like something to help these guys. Like he's going to doing this is going to motivate these guys to do a good job and succeed. And he's not just like completely emasculating them and like making them question everything about themselves. So no, this is a great scene. Cody's winning right now. Why didn't everybody else have this?
Not my favorite scene from the movie. I think of Boatman in the chat. I think that's Boatman, probably on the Multiplex account. I think picked the best one. I mean, I really enjoy the movie as well. I mean, but especially some of the scenes in the third act with Pacino, with Jack Lemmon, when it all sort of comes crumbling down. This scene for me is just like, the dialogue is great, obviously, because it's Mamet. I just think Baldwin's performance by design is very one note. I mean, he's just yelling at them. And I get it. That's what he's called in to do. But for me, I enjoy the sort of more nuanced acting that's going on later in the movie. That's just more interesting to me. And so that's why I gravitate towards other scenes. But I totally get it. It's a very entertaining scene to watch. It's one of those scenes you just want to go like put it on YouTube every now and then and just watch the scene, like not even the whole movie. So it's a good pick, but would be on mine, obviously.
Yeah, I don't really have the same love for this movie as a lot of people. I didn't watch this movie until last year for Logged It. I can't remember. I think it was September or August. I can't specifically remember the month. But yeah, I mean, it is a great scene. I do like the scene a lot. It is just one of the best like one scene stealers. Baldwin just comes in, has this whole great monologue, does what he does, and then leaves, and he's not in it like that for the rest of the movie. It is really good, and it just showcases like how memorable the scene is, because that's the scene I had always known about the movie, as for like the reputation that this movie has. But as far as just like scenes goes, it's a scene that I didn't get to. It's a movie as well that I just didn't get to until last year, so I don't really have like that much connection to the movie. But I do think it is great. It just wouldn't make my top 100 personally.
Fair enough. Yeah, this is a great scene. I also didn't watch this movie until I watched it for Logged It. However, I did use this monologue for an audition in high school, and it was a lot of fun to do. But this scene's great. Baldwin's fantastic. Lemon all throughout the movie is fantastic, but in this scene, Baldwin is the clear-cut standout for me. It's not close. Great film.
Does video of that exist?
I was going to say, can we see a video of that?
Sorry. Fortunately not.
I really want to see that.
That's a shame.
But yeah, I mean, you guys are all right. There are so many great scenes. Like, I love the scene between Pacino and Lemon at the end, where Lemon's telling him about the scene he made. A lot of great scenes. But I mean, think about it, like the fact, like the powerhouse cast this movie has, and Baldwin is the one everybody talks about. I think deservedly so. That just shows.
I don't think deservedly so. But yeah.
Whatever. But okay, you're all on notice. But Cody, like you said to Jack, this is your 86. Yeah. So, what comes next?
Yeah, it's going to be a little awkward at the end. I don't think I'm talking about this one, but if I am, I'm okay with this 85. The final shootout, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Oh, that's a yikes.
Okay, I figured. Okay, so my 84. This is one that is not in this movie like the scene that people think about. But this is a scene that really relates to me, and this is why I picked it. I picked Billy Eats the Ice Cream from Kramer versus Kramer. The reason why I picked this is I think this is like the best acting performance from the kid in this movie and against Dustin Hoffman. It's the first time he has to actually discipline Billy. And the thing I love about Kramer versus Kramer is because he is not a fit father at the beginning of this film, and where he has to go and in such a fast time, because kids don't stop needing you. And he knows if he lets this kid get away with this, he's going to have to, like, down the line, it's going to be problems. So it's basically they're sitting at the dinner table. He makes Salisbury steak, and he's like, "Oh, Salisbury steak," and the kid. Every parent's been there. The kid's like, "Yuck." And he's like, "What? You had it last week. You said it was your favorite." "No, I didn't. It smells like garbage. I hate this." Blah, blah, blah. And he keeps going with him. And finally he's like, "Don't eat that. That's what your dinner is. Don't eat. I don't care." Like, the dad that's had enough. That's your dinner. Well, the kid leaves and goes and gets ice cream and sits down at the table. And Dustin Hoffman's like, "Don't you eat that ice cream, Billy. Don't you do it." And Billy takes the bite of the ice cream, and he has to take him to, like, "All right, that's it." And you remove him from the room, and they like yell at each other, which is one of the most like comedic. Like, it's not comedic because it's sad at the same time. But he's like, "I hate you." He's like, "I hate you too, you little shit," and shuts the door on him because in that moment he's just at a loss. He didn't plan to be a single parent at that time. He is a single parent, and he's having to work through all this stuff and to discipline Billy. So I think it's actually a brilliant scene. There was a few that I was going to choose from. Like, I think the French toast scene at the beginning is really good, but overall I had to go with this one because I think it's the one that not enough people talk about.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's the great part of this movie is that character arc he goes through from, just being so completely disconnected to not being able to live without this kid. I mean, that's the crux of the whole movie. I don't know if this is the best scene in the, concerning that. Like you said, the French toast scene, some other stuff. I mean, where it really has the impact, because, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, like I said, as a dad, I've been there, but it's kind of monotonous when they're at the table and he's like, "Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not going to say it again. I'm not going to say it again." And you can tell that he really doesn't know what he's doing. The impact of it is really the "I hate you right back" part. And then, like, he walks out and, like, it's like immediately regrets it and realizes, "Holy crap, I really screwed up, but I don't know what else to do." And that's so, I mean, again, all the scenes in this movie are great. I might have gone with another one, but I understand why you picked this one. I think just with the thing is, like, at this point is like, this is the first time, like, he has to, it's not like,
happy-go-lucky together. Like, it's not the fun and games like he's been trying to have with Billy. He's got to actually get on to Billy, and I think it makes him – this scene jump starts to the end, like, where he has to, like, no, I care for this kid more than anything else at this point. I'm good with it. Again, there was, like, the trial scene and stuff like that I thought about, but, again, I think they've been talked to a lot, so.
Right. Everybody else on the ice cream scene from Kramer vs. Kramer?
I've only seen the last 30 minutes of this movie, so I have not seen the scene.
So I've seen this movie a couple years ago. I don't remember a ton of it. Unfortunately, I do remember really liking it. I don't fully remember this scene, but hey, I'm excited to rewatch it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. Kind of what I was saying with Catch Me If You Can. I watched it years ago. I was watching a bunch of legal movies back in the day, and I decided to watch this one. Liked the movie. Don't remember the scene really. I will probably watch it again at some point, but probably not anytime soon because I left family law for a reason, and that is going to be a wound that will take some time to close. But
all right. Cody, that's it for you now. We move on to Jake. God help us, Jake. Number 87.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is definitely not the best scene to talk about. This is hard to say. So Todd Solondz is not a filmmaker who likes to make films that are positive and uplifting, entertaining, you could say. But there's a movie, ironically called Happiness, where he made a film with Dr. Kirk Connors, aka Dylan Baker, where he plays a pedophile. The scene is when he finally tells the truth to his son. This is one of the most uncomfortable scenes, like, ever. This is a very hard scene to watch, especially out of context without the entire movie. Basically, his son sees him at night and just asks him, "Hey, do you remember that kid Johnny that came over last night?" And there's been rumors and whispers around the neighborhood, like something's going on with the kid and him specifically. And he just tells him, "Yeah, I fucked him." Like, just cold stare. I did what you think I did. And then he tells him that he's basically tells him that, yeah, he is a pedophile. And I think this scene works really well because of the two performances. Like Cody was talking about how child actors, it's the best scene with the kid actor, honestly. And that's the problem with a lot of child actors, is that they're acting on a different sort of level with other adult actors, just because of experience. But he is so just broken from this realization. And I think Dylan Baker also is just really powerful. Like, you can see the tears from his eyes when he tells him the truth. And then the worst part of the scene is when he asks him, "Would you fuck me?" And he says, "No, I'd jerk off instead." And then that's when he starts just crying and bawling his eyes out. And it is just an uncomfortable scene, but it is one where it is intentionally discomfort. It is entirely supposed to make you, and I think that is hard to do. And I think the way the actors play it out, the dialogue, and the way that the cameras are positioned, it's just a reverse shot. It doesn't create any other sort of emotion. It's just there to make you uncomfortable. But it is a very powerful scene, and I think it absolutely is effective.
Hey, Todd? What the fuck?
Yeah. Man. Jake, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch the movie because
I really wish I told you to at least try. Just the whole context of it does really
I mean, the problem is you guys are giving me a lot of 2.5, 3 hour movies to watch, and that's just
this is 90 minutes.
But this is I don't know if the complete context would have made this better or worse, but yeah, it starts out like the kid. I mean, at first the kid gets better. At first, it's like Jake Lloyd level acting, like "What are midichlorians, sir?" kind of stuff, and that somehow makes it worse. What's going on? Because but man, I don't even know what to say about it. Jake. I mean, I understand, appreciated it for just what it does, but to have it on your top 100 scenes of all time, man, that's
87.
Still, it's in there. Has anybody else seen this?
I want to because I liked one of Todd Solondz's other movies, but I haven't seen it.
Life During War Times?
Wiener Dog.
Oh, Wiener Dog.
I watched it because Greta Gerwig's in it, but anyway.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense.
So, for whatever reason, I am able to stomach really tough movies multiple times, but I haven't gotten to this one yet. So we'll see if I ever do, and if I like it. But I know I've been looking to watch this movie. It's just I have to be in the right headspace.
So. I don't know if there's a right headspace for this. Cody, your thoughts?
I am muted at the wrong time. I'm not watching this. I promise you that. I heard about the jerk off, and I'm done. I'm absolutely done at that point. I don't even care the context. No, thank you.
All right. Let's cleanse the palate from that one. 86.
Yes. Let's really cleanse it because we're on the completely other side. Let's just make something that's just absolutely fuck yeah. My only scene from this year. From a movie from this year, it is the greatest dance sequence of all time. It's the Natu Natu dance sequence from Triple R. This is the power of the movies. This scene. This is just great. You see the two characters go to this British building, and they're like there for like this sort of like lunch, and then you have the asshole British white guy who his character name is Jake. I don't really like that, but you know. I have to deal with it, and he just says, "Hey, do you know how to do the tango? Do you know ballet? Do you know like any of these dances?" Like, no, we know the Natu Natu, and they just break out and start singing and start dancing in like one of the most fuck yeah dance sequences, just one of the most fuck yeah scenes in recent memory. Just the power of the scene just makes you want to get up and start dancing like they do, and I have no idea how they are doing it, but it is just really powerful. And just like the magic of the movies, where this whole film, this 3-hour film, is just filled with incredible action. But then we're just gonna take a step away from that and just have this dance sequence. It is the power of Tollywood, and it's the power of movies, and it's just absolutely great. I love the scene so much that I have the song on my Spotify playlist for how much it kicks ass. So yeah. And then Cody had it.
Cody?
I can't speak about how much I love this movie. Like, there's a new show, plug, my other show, it's called Roundtable. It comes out monthly. We talked about RRR. Thank you for the country of India. That it is one of our highest viewed shows on this channel right now because people are watching it and loving it and having the conversation. Me and Mike are already planning the double feature of this director's 2 movies prior. It's like a beginning of there's a sequel to it. I'm all in. I'm 100% in on whatever this movie. I had 0 expectations, 0. And this scene right here, because when I'm first watching this movie, I'm watching a lot of it. I'm like, this is a lot. Like, this is a lot to take on. This movie makes no sense. This is crazy. This is stuff that normally would just like, oh, God, this is too much. This scene happens. It switches, and I'm like 100% in. This dance sequence in this movie is crazy with the singing and the dancing. Like, I can't dance, but it made me want to try. It is just one of the most like just fun time. I wish I saw this in the theater. I really do. It's my number one movie of the year right now. I haven't seen everything. I haven't seen very little, but like this movie is so much fun. And this scene alone makes it that where they're at this dance and like they throw the thing to like the drums all start kicking in and they're like the British are like trying to dance up against them and then they start battling each other until like whoever drops. Again, I told Kirk, like, I think the context of the movie, I think you can just watch this without the context of the movie. I've watched the scene numerous times since, but with the movie, it plays really well. But yeah, the scene, top notch.
Yeah, another 3-hour movie I didn't have a chance to watch. I do want to see this, obviously. But I saw it, and I even talked to Cody, like he mentioned, do I need the context? He said no, so I watched just the scene. My question, I did a lot of research. I could not find it either way. And I don't know if you guys could tell me or somebody in the chat. Are there any visual effects or camera tricks in the scene? Or is that all?
I think there's got to be some. Like,
There's some green screen.
There's probably some.
The set, maybe.
Because there's certain points where their feet are moving and it just doesn't look real at all. So, I mean, honestly, to me, that kind of lessens it. Because, listen, I have to hear everybody in this community tell me that Bohemian Rhapsody is a bad movie because I have to listen to Freddie Mercury sing. If characters have
it's a bad movie for other reasons than that.
If characters actually have to sing for the song movie to be good, then I need people to actually dance for the dance movie to be good, or the dance scene anyway. So I mean, again, I would find that out because that's really going to because if they're doing that stuff for real, holy crap, because it doesn't look humanly possible what they're doing. But overall, it's still pretty fun. Again, it was super hyped up to me, and I think I went in with some different expectations of what to expect, and that may have impacted it. So I liked it. I enjoyed it. I definitely see why you guys have it on your top 100. Jack and Scott, you guys did not. Have you seen this? And if so, why don't you have it on your list?
Jack,
Yeah.
have you not seen it?
No, but I really want to. It's just I haven't had the time.
Yeah, I didn't pick any 2022 scenes. I mean, I could have and should have probably, but this would have been the one to pick. I mean, I'll be shocked if there's a better scene, honestly, from this year. I actually just put out a tweet a little bit ago because I saw that submitted this song they submitted Natu Natu for best original song for the Oscars.
For consideration for the Oscars, picture, director, everything.
It's not even going to be nominated, but like just thinking about the chaos that would ensue if it did, I mean, the Academy would gain so much credibility.
What if they had to perform it on the show?
Yeah,
that'd be great. They'll get so many viewers.
But that's the thing; it makes
I
too
can
much
see that
sense.
happening.
The Academy
even if
is
it
not
doesn't
going to
get
do it.
nominated.
It's gonna be replaced by some sort of sketch about the slap instead. And
it'll be like Kristen Wiig and someone and like Maya Rudolph.
Yeah.
Redoing this dance. That'll be what they do. That'll be the sketch.
God, I don't even want to think about that.
Oh, there's so many bad things that could happen this year at that show. Jake, what is your number 85?
85. One of my favorite, I think I'd say favorite twists of all time. Oh, that really annoys me. Just the idea that could happen. Oh god. Yeah, this 85 is one of my favorite twists of all time. From just a really great horror movie that James Wan and Lee Winnell made. I call it Hello Zep, or the twist, the ending to Saw. I think watching this for the first time and not even thinking about the fact that the dead body, spoiler, this is big spoiler. If you have not seen Saw, I highly recommend it. Okay. The fact that you don't even think about the fact that the dead body in the middle of the bathroom is actually the Jigsaw killer himself. And that revelation at the end, when you just have this like close up of Adam's face, just realizing that, oh, wait a minute, this guy that I thought was the Jigsaw killer, no, he's just another pawn in Jigsaw's game. And you just see the body that has been dead and just been resting there the entire movie just gets up and he takes the makeup off and you just realize that's the Jigsaw killer. He was there the whole time to see the whole situation play out. And then the iconic piece of music, which is called Hello Zep, plays throughout the scene, which has become essentially the staple. It's the cornerstone of the entire franchise. It plays in pretty much every Saw movie, even Jigsaw and Spiral. It completely takes you off guard and really just is a perfect twist for, I think, a great horror movie, even if the sequels suck. But just brilliant twist. And then he's just like, no, most people are so ungrateful, but not you anymore. And then closes it and says game over. And it's just like that 10 seconds of just cut to black. And you just hear Adam screaming and then bang, directed by James Wan Lee Winnell. Just brilliant twist and one of the best horror twists of all time.
Yeah. The downside to this is that I knew the ending. Before I saw the movie, it had been spoiled for me. So I didn't have the impact of that. But yeah, it's a great twist. Like I could see why going in blind and not see that coming at all would be like so crazy. And yeah, the sequel. This is a franchise with the sequels, especially that piece of music. Like by the time you get like, it's a complete joke. Like it reminds me like an SNL skit because it's like the music starts like here's some dumb other new reveal we learned about the Jigsaw.
There's another Jigsaw killer.
Yeah. So, but I mean, here in its purest form, it's still so good. And I wish it would have just stayed with this, but because I don't think this movie has. I haven't seen Subaru yet, but I've seen the rest of them, and from what I've seen, this movie does not have a good sequel. But yeah, this is a great twist, great ending. Everybody else on Hello Zep.
Haven't seen it. Knew about this.
I'm gonna go
because the
shut up,
internet.
Shut up, Zach. Shut up, Jack. Sorry, I called you Zach.
How dare you say shut up, Zach? That man's a national.
I'm still mad at Zach. From last top 100. Okay. The fact that we're just sitting here and saying Saw 2 is not a good movie makes me very upset. Saw 2 is great. I will stand by Saw 2 is still great. Yeah, like those are where it stops. I agree with the rest of them, but Saw 2, I can't wait to watch both of these coming up. Hopefully a double feature with Mike. No, this is a scene that I wanted to include so bad and I forgot about. I forgot to make like a change of it. But I'm glad you brought it up. I wish I could go back to the time to see this for the first time again and have that feeling, because I mean, not knowing what was happening, and when he stands up and like slams the door, and the music again still like sets that mood for it, and then when he slams that door and says "game over" and just Scream just lets out, I think it's a brilliant ending to a horror movie. I don't like what this franchise becomes. I think that music does get overused. I think they should have saved it for the rest of it, but especially as soon as Jigsaw dies, like in the third one, they should probably have just moved on or quit.
The timeline of the Saw franchise is so fucked.
But
this takes place before this, and then there's this. Oh, there's so much.
But yeah, like after everything happens, the saw of the leg, like he gets up. It's a brilliant scene. Good job. I wish I would have put it on there.
Yeah, I've seen a few of these. Really good movie. I was talking about earlier with Reservoir Dogs. It's very mean, very nasty, obviously, and this is sort of the ultimate example of that. So it's not going to be a favorite movie for me, but I get it if it is for other people. Like I think from a filmmaking standpoint, it's extremely well done.
So everybody talked about that. Jake, 84.
84. Well, I had to include a scene from the Matrix franchise. I have always been a big fan of the Matrix films, and I think Reloaded is underrated. We don't really talk about how great Reloaded is. And there's a scene that people really don't like to talk about, and people don't like, but I honestly am a sucker for this sequence. This is an incredible action sequence. I am talking about the fact when Neo has to fight 150 Smiths. Neo versus Smith's action sequence from Matrix Reloaded. Put up the banner.
I thought you were about to pick the freaking sex scene, and I was going to go nuts.
I mean, that is a great sex scene. It's very hot. Neo versus Smith. Well, it's from 2003, but that's fine. There we go. Well,
we're not playing trivia. Stop playing trivia.
Sorry,
I can't. It doesn't matter what year it came out. Everybody
came out in 1914. All right, so this scene is really great. This is Smith's reintroduction to the franchise. We thought he was killed. Oh, no, it turns out he's a virus, and he can actually copy himself. And then we have this great opening. Like, this is really great in the sense that it just keeps building up. Neo can beat Smith one-on-one. But now it's Neo versus 10 Smiths, and he still can beat them all. Then it turns into 20. Then it turns into 50. And then that's at that point, oh, wait, I can't beat them all. I'm going to grab this pole, and I'm going to start doing a bunch of flips and crazy shit, start speeding the fuck out of them. And then Smith's like, oh, wait, I need more. So that's when 150 Smiths come into this action scene. And it just becomes this crazy, amazing, operatic sort of choreography. The way he's able to spin around, I'm just like absolutely losing my shit over the scene. I know a lot of people don't really like the CG in this sequence, especially later half of the sequence, but I don't know. I just watched it as a kid, and I just never really got that. I really just I'd never seen an action scene like this before. I don't think anyone really has. And the way the Wachowskis were able to to go something bigger while still maintaining the essence of the first Matrix in its like insane action scenes, I think really works for this. And I just really like rewatching the scene every now and then. And I think the music also is really great. And it's Don Davis, but there's like some remix. They got a I think Juno Reactor. I can't remember the other people, but they kind of did a remix of his score. And throughout the scene, I think it's really good. I think the piece is called Burly Brawl, and it really really works for the scene. This is sort of a guilty pleasure, but I do think this scene is just like fantastic and fun to watch.
I will say this scene is definitely not the biggest problem with this movie. And I just think it's a better one. It's much better the concept than the execution. And I think it's just like I don't know if we've seen how much we saw before this, but it's just like one of those like things with these sequels. It's like, okay, everybody like Neo versus Smith. How about Neo versus 100 Smiths? Just more Smiths. And so it just overkill. And the choreography of the fight scenes aren't bad, but the special effects do not hold up. I think that's the biggest weakness. Is the fights, the effects are just kind of bad. And I think it's one of those things where you just had diminishing returns throughout the sequels. There's definitely another action scene I would have picked if I was going to pick one from this movie. But everybody else on Neo versus a million Mr. Smiths in the Matrix Reloaded.
Agent Smith.
2003 changed your life, didn't it?
Yeah, Matrix related.
Like 2002, 2003 just like completely changed who you were as a person.
It really did. It's my favorite.
That makes sense. Could you imagine if somebody like stopped making you watch shit and what you would have could you wouldn't have had like that scene from Happiness on this list? Things could have changed. You would have been in a better spot. But no, God no, this is so bad. How does this age to 2005 Hulk? King Kong.
Oh, I'd rather watch this.
You'd rather watch that? Oh.
This is much less of a slog than 05 King Kong.
Yeah, King Kong's like 3 hours long. This is only like 2
Neo
hours
Agent Smith don't ice skate together at any point in this movie.
That's true.
Anyway, I like this movie, and I like the scene as well. But yeah, I'm sorry. There's a scene in this movie that is the pick, and it's actually probably my favorite scene, action scene in the whole trilogy. It's another highway chase, but also because I just love Morpheus, and him like with a sword is just one of the most badass things freaking ever. But yeah, this is a good scene. I think the action in The Matrix is incredible. Like, you're not going to find an action scene really to pick out that isn't doing something pretty crazy, honestly.
Yeah, I've seen this scene a lot because it's like everywhere. For a while, I saw it all the time on YouTube for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I did. I still haven't seen the movie though. I've only seen the first Matrix.
You could stop there.
No. You got to watch the sequel so you can watch Resurrections, because Resurrections is awesome.
He flies away out of that phone booth, and whatever you imagine is what happens.
No.
Rage Against the Machine.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a break to think about what he's done. Scott, what is your number 87?
Forgive me, Father.
All right. 87 is my Ethan Beller honorary tribute to the male anatomy pick. It's the Bathhouse fight from Eastern Promises. I love this movie, first of all. It was in my top 100. But yeah, I mean, look, this is the scene from this movie. It is one of the, if not the most brutal fight scenes that you will find in any movie. Like, it genuinely feels like you're right there watching a nude Viggo Mortensen just like getting into an absolute knockdowns, drag out fight with this other guy. And again, they're bleeding. They're just like literally just trying to rip each other's heads off, it feels like. And it's, it's gnarly. And the final moment of like the guy getting the freaking knife, shoved right into his head. And that's the conclusion. Just the physicality of it is amazing. Like, David Cronenberg is a genius. And so just for the sheer sort of visceral impact of it, I think it had to make my list, and also because I just love the entire movie so much. But yeah, tribute to Ethan as well, I guess. From Vigo in this scene.
Yeah, this is the most like Cronenberg fight scene possible. Because like if you look at just like you said how they're fighting, just like how brutal it is, like it's not to like knock somebody out or to just incapacitate them. It's not even really to kill. It's just like the goal is to maim and to do just as much like disgusting damage as possible. And like that is one thing, and then on top is like, oh, one dude's going to be naked the entire time, and it is just so hard to watch for so many reasons. Like it's just he's like I want to make a scene that everybody's going to like completely do this to because there's only so much you could take, and he achieves that. So yeah, it's a great fight scene because of just how brutal it is, but it's incredibly hard to watch. Everybody else on Bathhouse for Easter Promises.
I haven't seen the movie, but I have seen the scene. It's a lot. You know, I really respect Vigo because he definitely seems like someone who doesn't really have an ego when it comes to like showing his body. You see everything, and I think it's something to him as an actor.
So, question. So, some films can be brutal and just not fun and mean, like Spirited film, and then some just are not your cut. I'm really confused at what Scott, like, if it's from Cronenberg, it's okay if it's like a pretty brutal, hard to watch scene, and then when other directors do it, it's just cheap ploy and gross and not your favorite. I'm just weirded
I don't think
out.
I used those words. So.
I don't know. You said a bunch of bullshit at some point. So, all I'm saying is, yeah, of all scenes that we brought up, well, good Lord. Like, of this being on your list, I think you're just a total hypocrite of anything you said tonight about any bad scene or any mean scene, because holy shit, this is rough. That's a rough scene.
The movie itself actually has a lot of heart in it, but you should probably watch
it to
figure that out.
I know I've seen the movie. I think I'm just surprised. This isn't Ladybird. This isn't Love and Thing. This is naked Vito getting ripped out of him. So crazy.
That too.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
Sorry. I'll keep this quick. I love this scene. I'm really mad at myself. This should have been on this list, but it's just one that completely slipped my mind while I was making it. Great pick. This scene's incredible.
All right. What do you got next there?
All right, Cody, you want to see how versatile I am? Portals.
Yikes.
All right.
Wait, what?
I knew you weren't talking about tonight, but
right?
I'm shocked. Yeah, I'm pretty shocked.
Wow. I can't believe we talk about this one.
All right. 85 is the first sacrifice from Midsommar. Now we're back on track.
That's the Scott I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, amazing movie. And the slow build of it, obviously at first, it's very slow. It's very deliberate. It's just really building that atmosphere and, getting under your skin. What is going on here? Is there something more sinister going on here? It just seems it's unsettling, but like, is it just kind of a cultural thing? Right. I think that's where some of the tension comes from early in the movie. And then, slowly you start to realize something not right is going on here. And then this scene is where it, really transitions to the next part of the movie, with, the old man walking to the top of the mountain, and it's like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then he jumps, and then the old woman jumps after him, and, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember, but, that shot of like whichever one of them it is, like coming up off the rock after their face has just been like smashed in, is just terrifying, honestly. And then, the ensuing freak out by Simon and Connie, the British people who were there, obviously having the reaction that we're all having, contrasted with, Jack Rayner, Christian, just kind of being like, wow, that's like, that's pretty messed up or whatever. And, just furthering the red flags that are going on there, because obviously Danny, Florence Pugh's character, is equally freaked out about it. But it's really just a great way to just kick things into overdrive for the second half of the movie, because obviously, things are going to get crazy from here on out. And they do. but a masterful crescendo of the slow burn tension that Ari Aster had built up to that point. And, being in broad daylight as well, of course, like the rest of the movie is. But the light in this scene is so like stark and white. It's just like you see everything. You see it all there. You can't hide from the terror that's going on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think about, like you said, just the light and the daylight, the contrast of that with, and not just that, just but how like idyllic everything is, how peaceful and calm, and how normal this seems to people. And I think the brilliance is in making the main characters. Are they sociologists or anthropologists? I can't remember what they were. But
anthropologists. They're students. But
yeah. But that's because that's the only way the movie can happen, really. Because, like you said, normal people are not going to be like, oh yeah, we'll stick around and see what happens. But the fact that these characters are able to like have that like detached scientific viewpoint of it and just be like, okay, this is their culture and we'll see what happens. That's the only way the movie can move on from this spot. So yeah, this is. I remember watching this for the first time, and it was just like you knew. I mean, obviously, you knew something was going on, but you were not expecting this. So yeah, I think that's another great daylight horror scene. Everybody else on the Sacrifice in Midsommar.
This is Car Crash the movie for me. Like, so hard to look away. Don't love it. Don't, Scott. You're a fascinating guy. Overall, I love to see the face detached from the body. It's real good times.
I didn't say I love it. I said it's terrifying. It's affecting.
Fair. You're not wrong. But overall, I've seen this movie one time. I don't consider this a bad movie. I just consider this a non-Cody movie. And I was like, I watched the whole thing. I stared at it, but I did not like what was going on the entire time. I think and this has got Kirk's favorite actress in it, so you'll probably get some points for that. So Midsommar, pretty good choice.
I'm glad he didn't mention that.
Yeah, this is I like the scene. Oh, sorry. I like the scene a lot. It's the guy. I think is one of them still not dead? He's still alive. Am I misremembering the scene?
Yeah.
Although
Yeah, because they have to crush him. Yeah.
Like the crush, because he's like breathing like
the old man, like his teeth are like out of his head.
It's so fucked that visual. I remember that specifically when I saw it back in 2019. I just been like, yeah, this is a scene never to forget. And I think it also just like it has that turn for the entire movie of, oh wait, okay, there's a lot more going on. Yeah, really, really effective scene from the movie. I think I like this. There's a couple other scenes I really like later down the movie, but this is like definitely one that's sort of indicative of the movie itself, representative. So
yeah, no. This is a phenomenal scene. I hated this movie the first time I saw it, but upon rewatching it, I almost put a scene from this movie on here. It wasn't this one. It was the opening scene, but this scene is fantastic. It took me a while to come around to it, but yeah, no, great pick.
Okay, Scott, what do you got next?
All right, I have another one Cody's gonna love, but from the French Dispatch, this is the mural reveal scene. I mean, I love this movie, and the concrete masterpiece, which is the first long segment, is like probably my favorite segment of any Wes Anderson movie, and it culminates with this scene where Moses Rosenthaler, which is the Benicio del Toro character, is revealing the work of art, that he's been commissioned to make. And first of all, the two words as to why the number one most amazing thing about the scene, Adrian Brody. His performance in this scene as Julian Cadazio, the guy who commissions him to make the painting, is hilarious. One of the hardest I've laughed in a movie in a long time when I watched this in theaters. But his motor mouth, delivery and everything, it's kind of like he's almost following up his Grand Budapest Hotel character in a way, but he's not too far from that. But first the mural being revealed, and like he's not a guy who knows that much about art. They make that pretty clear, but like he sees something in this and pays him an obscene amount of money. And of course he's initially like wowed by it. We have another Lois Smith appearance as the old woman, like from Kentucky, who's like admiring the painting, and he's going on this monologue about how she's the such and such noted art person and who all she is, and then all of a sudden just he breaks off in the middle of his sentences like, why the fuck did she say fresco? Because he realizes that the painting has been painted into the walls and is not going to be something that he can take and hang in a gallery or whatever, do what he wants with it. And they have an argument, a fight breaks out where he's chasing after him in the wheelchair, and then Leia Seydoux trips both of them and they go flying. It's some great slapstick. And then finally it ends up with him sort of begrudgingly admiring the painting, the fresco, for what it is, and finally realizing sort of what art is at the end of all of this. So it has a nice little neat resolution there. But yeah, it's got like everything I love about Wes Anderson. The aesthetics in it are great, like the switches between black and white and color, the humor, and just the clever plotting and dialogue. So I love this movie. I love this scene.
Yeah, this is a great scene. Maybe the best from the movie. I think, like you're saying, like with the slapstick humor, like when that fight ensues, like it's all like, they're doing it like all slow motion, everything. So many movies try to do like that, like old time screwball comedy thing. And 99% of the time when modern movies do it, it just falls flat because they're just completely imitating what's come before. And it just looks really cheap and generic, and I usually hate it. But I think he does such a good job. I mean, this is like this segment specifically in the movie is like maybe like the most Wes Anderson-y thing Wes Anderson's ever done. And this scene like totally has his stamp on it, and it does that like slapstick comedy, but as his type of thing. So no, I think it's really funny. I really enjoyed the scene when I saw it. One of my favorite highlights of the movie for me. Everybody else on the mural reveal. Yeah, French just.
I haven't seen the movie since cinemas back in last year, so my memory is a little foggy on the scene itself. I like the movie a lot. It's just one of those things where I don't know if I just like with specifically Grand Budapest. That's a movie that I liked when I first saw, and it was when I watched it multiple times where I really started to like fall in love with the movie. I feel like that will be the same case for French Dispatch. It's on Disney Plus, so I can just rewatch it whenever. But I do want to rewatch it just so I get more. So I really connect more with the movie. But because weirdly enough, the first segment is my least favorite, but that's just because I like the other segments a little bit more. But then again, I've only seen it once. I imagine my opinion will probably change when I rewatch it. But yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I want to hear what Cody has to say.
Adrian Brody sucks at acting. I can't stand him overall. And everybody knows how I feel about this movie. The man cares more about what's happening with like this. What was it? My personal favorite scene is when the paper just falls. Yeah, that's him. He cares more about everything than the actual stuff on the screen. So, or the actor. So can't stand it. No, thank you.
Cody, what if I told you the good news? Sup T's least favorite actor is Adrian Brody.
What?
But the reason
that's probably from the 05 King
Kong 05. Yeah. So
yeah.
Good news, bad
Which
news,
is fair. Which is fair.
Okay. That takes us to the top three for the night. We're going to go carousel style here, starting with Jack. And your number.
All right. 83. Yeah, my number 83 is Reading the Letter from the Oxbow Incident.
Remember, this sounds like a made-up movie, right?
Yeah. Massive spoiler alert for this film in particular. If you haven't seen it, it's barely over an hour. It's on YouTube. Watch it. Fantastic. Okay, so the Oxbow Incident. Just brief recap here. Someone's been murdered, or a town believes that someone has been murdered, and a mob forms, and they go to lynch him to deliver justice to the murderer. And so they go, and throughout the film, eventually, spoiler alert, they hang the guy that they believe murdered whoever it was that died. When in fact, and again, massive spoiler alert for the Oxbow Incident, that might not have been the case. Humphrey Bogart at the end of the film Humphrey Bogart has the letter that the man
Henry
Donald.
Fonda.
Yeah, or sorry, Henry Fonda. Why I say Humphrey Bogart? I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Henry Fonda. Yes, Henry Fonda has the letter that that Donald, the man who was hung, wrote to his wife, explaining everything that happened. And when Henry Fonda reads the letter to his buddy, I completely broke down. This scene is incredibly powerful. It fully it brings home everything the film was trying to say previous, and it's just the most effective. It's incredibly simple. It's just someone reading a letter, but it's just incredibly effective in everything it does. Incredible film. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. And this film just brings it home, or this scene just brings it home. Great scene.
Yeah, I watched this for the first time because it was on your list, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie. I think the whole thing, because I mean, the middle part of the movie is basically just one long scene, and this is kind of like the conclusion of it. I think, again, this isn't one I would have picked a scene from just because it's not because it's a bad movie, because it's all just like one, uncut garment. I mean, it is powerful when he reads, especially everything. But I think all the stuff that comes before that sets it up is a little more powerful. But like I said, fantastic movie. Everybody should watch this. Has anybody else seen this?
I have not seen it.
Scott?
No, haven't seen it. I didn't want to hear the spoiler.
All right, no problem. That takes us to Cody, and Cody's number 83.
Fandom.
That's a great
X2. White House Raid.
Yes.
Hell yes.
I'm a sucker for X-Men. Always have been, always will be. Spider-Man or X-Men will get me into a theater probably anytime, even if they're garbage. I still stand by. I think X2 is one of the best comic book movies that's ever been made. Like, I don't think this one gets enough credit for I know the MCU changed what people think, but this movie, one, feels like the most X-Men team movie they've ever came close to. Kind of, it's still far apart. It's still pretty far from. It's still Wolverine driven, but this Nightcrawler scene through the White House where they shoot this and how he uses his powers to get in and get right to the president with that knife, I think is just brilliant. I've watched the scene more times than I've probably watched by itself than the movie. I think it's fantastic. I think he gives a great performance. Who plays Nightcrawler? Just
Alan Cumming.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Cumming. I think he does a great job as Nightcrawler. We're supposed to see, and I think for how it looks, and still to this day looks just as good. I think this movie. I think this is a fantastic scene. I had to put it on my because it's when I think of scenes, I think of actions, I think of what scene makes you feel like this is a scene that had to be on my list. So White House Raid.
Yeah, I love Nightcrawler. He's probably my favorite X-Men, both in the comics and in these movies. I love his powers, and there's nothing as somebody who read comics. There's nothing more satisfying than when they get the powers right, and they translate what's on the page into the onto the screen, and they get Bamfied perfectly. They got the sound right, the look right, everything is perfect, and the use of that's just one of my favorite. I think it's just such a cool, simple superpower that you can do so much with, and they do in this scene. The way he's moving around, they think he's in different places. The fights, when he's bouncing around, kicking guys and fighting them and grabbing them and moving other places. It's amazing. I just think it's the look of the character is so good with him in the trench coat. And he's got the kind of painted face and the teeth and everything. And the tail comes out. Oh, it's so good. I love this scene. This is what probably. It's definitely up there for the X-Men franchise for me. I can't get enough of Nightcrawler. I just think he didn't come back for the sequels. At least this version of everybody else on the Nightcrawler scene in X2.
What a way to open the movie. Like it's just this sequence. It's I really love the use of classical music in movies, and this is like one of the best ways. Like it uses it to just really create how cinematic the experience is. This started like an obsession with teleportation as a power for me. Like this and the movie Jumper, weirdly enough, where I was just like, teleportation, that's a power I would definitely love. And the way that I don't want to talk about him, but the director uses Nightcrawler's powers during the one sequence or the one moment where he's in the actual he's in the actual room. I can't remember.
The Oval Office.
The Oval Office.
Oval Office. I forget you're not American.
I'm not American. And it's just a slow-mo shot of him
Slow-mo
kicking, teleport, punch, teleport, flip, teleport. Like that whole sequence, it just plays out so well. And I think Nightcrawler is definitely one of my favorite mutants, one of my favorite superheroes, honestly. And the way they really capture like the essence of his powers, and it's just brilliant. I wish he was in X-Men: Last Stand, to be honest. Like it's just he really has a mark in the franchise.
Yeah. If you're gonna pick just a single scene from the X-Men franchise, then this is definitely up there for me. Especially in the first three movies, this is the scene. It's absolutely incredible. It was on an early version of my list, fell off unfortunately, but glad Cody had it.
I'm kind of mad at myself for not actually thinking of it because it does rule. Only thing I have to add is that the CGI in this scene, I mean, it has to be said, it's better than a lot of contemporary superhero movies. So, I don't know what happened there, but they were doing more with their money back then.
All right, Jake, hit us with your 83.
What is my 83? I believe Holtzman is not here at the moment, so this is almost textbook pandering for him. But I'm talking about the opening chase from Baby Driver. I think this is one of my favorite openings to a movie ever. This really, like, even like before the movie starts, when you hear the ringing of the I think it's the Columbia logo, the Sony logo and the Columbia logo just shows up, and it's like it really puts you in the head of Baby. And then bang, bell bottom starts. You see them go out the car, and it's just him, and it's not even focusing on the robbery. It's just focusing on what's Baby doing while he's just waiting in the car. He's listening to bell bottoms, and I'm just like, I don't know if we've all been there, but we're all just hand boning to the song, playing around in the car. It's also Edgar Wright's sort of remake of his music video for I think it's Blue Song by Mint Royale, which is a band I'm kind of a big fan of, early 2000s band. He did a music video for them with Noel Fielding, underrated music video. I highly recommend it. And it's just him doing that again. And then you see the bell bottoms, the shift in the music and the beat, the robbery is there. They're quickly going into the car, and then bang, you think he's going forwards, he's gone backwards, and then bang, you have this whole car chase with the police. The way that Edgar Wright just really, he really planned the action scenes, and I think that makes him stand out from other directors. I mean, and this is like his definitive action movie. It's an action movie with comedy in it. He really focused on the choreography of the car chase, and all the car chases in this movie. And it really just sets up the movie for the rest. It really sets up the rest of the movie in what you're going to expect from the film, and it's just really, really like I also had a great experience watching this in the cinema, and kind of knowing what I was getting into. But I watched it with a friend, and he had no idea, and just the experience of the sequence is just really riveting and engaging. And yeah, there's just many great scenes in this movie, and I think this one is a great way to open the movie.
I think Jake is the only person in the world who gets excited about seeing the Sony logo at the beginning of a movie. You see that pops up.
It's kind of true.
I see that pop up, and I'm like, oh no.
Venom. That's why it opens.
But a lot of it. But no, I have my issues with this movie, and I've talked about it. I think it does get a little too over stylized at certain points. But I do. I think this is kind of just the Goldilocks scene in the movie where they get it just right. Just the opening of him, and then the addition, the music, and then the addition of the characters, but still to focus on him and what he's doing. But you're being introduced to those characters and what their dynamic is and what's happening, and setting up a lot of stuff for later. Yeah, I think it's a really good chase scene. I like how the way they use it's kind of weird how it works out. You know, when you think about it, but then when he goes under the bridge, they have the different cars, like they're playing like the shell game with the cars. Yeah, solid choice. Like I said, it wouldn't be in my list, but I'm not going to begrudge it being on yours because it's a lot of fun. Everybody else on the Baby Driver chase scene.
Edgar Wright, I like a lot of his movies. For some reason, they don't have a lot of staying power for me. Like, I don't come back to them a lot. And that does apply to Baby Driver. I did like the movie when I saw it in theaters. Maybe rewatched it once since then. I mean, I think it peaks like with the opening scene. That maybe is one of the problems. Is that like this is the perfect example of what this movie can be, and you just want the rest of the movie to like be like that, and it doesn't quite match up to the standards, particularly towards the end, towards the third act. But it's a great scene, and another one of those like YouTube rewatchable. Just watch the scene, right? You don't have to watch the whole movie. And the song, the John Spencer song rips too.
It's the best scene in the movie, and that's where I think it does its best, like at the very beginning, and that's why the movie never hits like as hard for me. But this scene is the scene to pick. Like it's absolutely like when Kingsman or when especially Holtzman talks about it, it's like, oh, the editing, blah blah. This is the scene. Like this is what everybody like. It was cut to the music. That's why it has that power. But yeah, this is a scene that stands alone, away from the film, and is fantastic. So yeah, I knew probably somebody was going to include it. I wasn't going to include it for that reason. So, but I'm glad you got to. It's a good scene.
Yeah, it's a fantastic scene. Arguably my favorite scene in the film. I go. There's a couple that bounce around with it, but it's definitely worth being on your top 100. It's great. Now, please don't have Hulk above this.
All right, Scott, number.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
86.
So I have a music-based scene as well. This is the headphone splitter scene from Begin Again. This in rewatching the scene in like the last week, I wish I had it higher. Honestly, this scene is like it exemplifies like what I love about like listening to music and the pure like euphoria it can inspire. This is like it starts off with the two main characters. Mark Ruffalo's character has the headphone splitter hanging from the ceiling in his car, and they just decide to try it out. And they start off, they are listening to Luck Be a Lady by Frank Sinatra and walking around New York. And I love New York, and that's just like, amazing feeling of just walking around listening to music there with all the lights and everything. And then they go into the club and are listening to Stevie Wonder, and everyone else, of course, is dancing to EDM, trap, whatever's playing in there, and they're listening to Stevie Wonder For Once in My Life, and just like feeling themselves dancing along with everyone else. And then it ends up with them sort of sitting on a bench and listening to As Time Goes By from Casablanca. And Mark Ruffalo has this great sort of little speech that he gives about how you can just be looking at the most mundane images, and they're just watching like random people walk past in New York, but the listening to music and listening to certain songs at the same time can like make those mundane images look so much more profound and look like something totally different because like the music inspires that. And I just really relate to that sentiment, certainly, as somebody who just like likes to walk around, listen to music, especially if I'm in somewhere like New York or something like that. Also, just the chemistry between Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley is really great in this scene. They obviously don't have a romance, which I think is the right direction for the movie to go in. But again, it kind of speaks to like what music can do, that in this moment, like they have the real spark between them. But not necessarily because, they're in love with each other, they need to be together or anything, but it's just like they're sharing in the passion of that moment and the emotions that the music is bringing to them. So this scene is so good.
I watched it. You got me to watch this for the first time. I just haven't got around to it, but I watched it because it was on your list. And I loved it. I talked about it on Logged a couple weeks ago. I really enjoyed this movie. I like all John Carney's movies that I've seen a lot. And I think one of the great things he does is the way he uses music and really focuses on what music does for people and how it affects people's lives. And like in one way he does in the movies, way the same thing with Sing Street, how you like getting the band together, the excitement of that, and creating something. But also just like in this scene, like the passion and the love they have for music, and just the idea of like how much you can know somebody through what they listen to and what they enjoy. And that's kind of what they're basically going through their playlists on this music and sharing music with each other. Yeah, and I love the fact of the way their connection works. Like you said, it's not a romantic relationship, and I love movies that focus on like non-romantic friendships and just other kind of connections. They have something that's kind of beyond that. I think there's a lot between them that they've experienced in their past that they bring to it, and they're kind of like both working through that together, and they're helping each other through that. And so, I just love the way that works. And like you said, this scene specifically, when they get that club, and they're surrounded by all these people, but it's just the two of them experiencing that thing. So yeah, I think this is there's better scenes in the movie, but I think this is the best scene involving just the two of them and what they have going on. Everybody else on begin again. Headphones.
I'm annoyed. I wish I would have put this on there. I saw this just recently, so and I haven't seen it enough to I couldn't pull scenes in my head at that moment to what. But as you were describing it, I love the scene when it happened. It's my favorite John Carney movie, so I just wish I would have included it. But I'm glad you did, because I think it's a great scene.
The way Scott was describing the scene, it makes me just want to rewatch the movie, because I'm just like, wow, that sounds like right up my alley. And I haven't seen the movie in a few years, so I can't really recall specific moments like this scene specifically. But damn, I really kind of want to watch the movie the way Scott's selling it.
All right, that takes us to Jack, and Jack's number 82.
All right, fandom, big surprise. My number 82 is Caesar Speaks in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This is one of just the greatest mic drop moments in a movie, because the entire film, Caesar, he's this hyper intelligent ape, but he's in this he's basically in this animal control facility with a bunch of other chimps and gorillas and just a bunch of other apes. But he finally decides to fight back, and when Tom Felton goes into the enclosure with the electric prod or whatever, and he's zapping Caesar with it, and Caesar grabs his arm and he says, get your stink paws off me, you damn dirty ape. And Caesar just goes, no. The music cuts, just complete silence. Tom Felton is left just speechless. Buck the gorilla in the cage is shocked at this moment. And Caesar breaks all the apes out and just goes and wreaks havoc on San Francisco as they try to escape. It's the perfect moment. This moment couldn't have been done better. It's my favorite moment in the new trilogy, and one of my favorite moments in the entire series. Just phenomenal moment. Cody, you had it earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love the scene because of how it, I think, made me feel in the theater the first time I watched it. I didn't have a lot of knowledge or care for the Planet of the Apes movies prior. Didn't really watch them growing up, didn't know a lot about them. After watching it, I'll still stand by the trilogy. The new trilogy is the best of Planet of the Apes. No offense to everybody who loves the old ones, but not a shot. The thing I think I love this is because I think what it does is I think it creates this character that you're with throughout the entire movie, and he basically has no control in any of his life decisions. And he's more intelligent than most humans walking around, and he keeps getting pushed, and Tom Felton sprays him with sprays him, punches him, snaps him with a cattle prod, and then at the one time when he finally let's go. The only downside, and the reason why I left it really low on my list, because I know how Kirk feels, really low, because I don't believe Tom Felton is deserving of that line in Planet of the Apes movie. But I just love the roar of the no because everybody realizes like how powerful Caesar is at that moment, and then basically sprays him with the water, kills him, and then they finally. And it's not even that they wreak havoc. They go through the like that's the thing that leads to the charge of them like taking ownership for their own. Like they don't need to be controlled by man at this point. They need to be their own, and they need to be released into the wild where they're supposed to be. And I think that's a brilliant part of this. And it's the humans that want to keep them knocked down. So I think that's what's brilliant about the scene. And again, that first scream of no, yeah, not big for most. Some people could have seen it coming for a first time, and still to this day, when he yells it, I'm like, let's fucking go. It's it's an awesome moment for me. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Cody kind of alluded to it. It's a great moment, but the problem with it is you have like this great like central moment to this movie with him saying no, and it's immediately preceded by Draco Malfoy giving this like awful, just stupid callback to the original movies, just stepping all over it. Like I'm not done cringing from that when the no gets yelled. So it's like I just hate that there's like bang bang one right after each other. But that's what just really like throws like a bucket of cold water in this whole scene. Well, that moment for me anyway. And I think like what Jack said, I think what's cool is like not just with how the humans react, but like even the apes. Like they're like, whoa, this is like wrong and different, and something's going to change here. I think when everything that comes after is better, and I understand like if you really love these movies, you love the characters. Like the character moment is important, but I like to me this is just like the beginning of not just this movie, but all the cool stuff that happens in the following movies. Everybody else, Scott and Jake, did not have this.
I saw the movie when it came out. Don't really remember it. Haven't seen any other Apes movies. Not really my thing, but it sounds really cool the way y'all are describing it. I will say that. I'm sure if you're into this sort of thing, like it hits.
Quick, Kirk, is it better to have it in the 90s or in the higher 80s?
Probably the 90s.
I guess we'll find out.
You're only separated by a
month. I do like the scene. Tom Felton is like trying to get the line out as quickly as he can, and I have to get it exactly every syllable and every word right. You got to make sure it's the exact same line as the original, the way Sheldon has the same line he says it. That's like the worst thing about the scene, but like, yeah, it builds up to the moment, and I mean, this is probably my favorite of the Planet of the Apes movies. I kind of just enjoy the rise more than Dawn and War, personally. But yeah, it is a good moment. It's just like Tom Felton, and then he gets electrocuted. Like.
All right, Cody, 82.
So I went with. I'm not a Kingsman, I promise. I went with Aaron Sorkin movie. I went with Molly's Game. I went Going Full Tilt. So this is the scene where, again, I'm going to be terrible at this because I can't think of it. But a regular at the poker game basically is playing poker, and he's playing like he normally plays. Everything's going fine. He's in a hand with this terrible poker player named Bad Brad at the poker table, and he gets in the hand and again, so the reason why I picked the scene, one, I love poker. Absolutely love poker. I love everything about poker. I think it's one of the most fascinating games to watch. When this scene happens, the reason why I think Sorkin does a really good job with Molly's Game, he doesn't beat you over the head with poker analogy, and he basically teaches you throughout it. Harlan, thank you. Harlan is playing, and Bad Brad, he lays down his cards because he thinks the person across from him has a better hand than him. And he goes, you had the kings? Nope. Only the king I had was the one in the middle. And he's like, oh, you had a pair? Just the pair that's in the middle. And flips over the card, and everything in him from knowing poker breaks. He can't read anything. He can't do anything. And he's just making bad beats, bad calls the rest of the night, everything. And he keeps going to Molly and taking lines of credit. And he's supposed to be home for his birthday. I think it's a birthday party the next day. And he just keeps like going more and more in debt. Give me another 500,000, I'll get it. Molly's trying to talk him out of it. It's a bad thing. All the other poker players from around the area are coming to play like for a couple hours with him before work because he is just giving the house at this point. Everybody knows it. He can't walk away. He's just trying to get even. And then the scene finally goes where he's in a showdown with somebody. He has the right cards. He's playing everything the right way, and he's got like a full house. And he said, and the Molly, Jessica Chastain's character pops up. The only thing that can beat him is a king full house, and the card hits, and he loses it. Like he loses on the dealer. He's like, you fucking piece of shit! You cheated me all night, like throwing shit at him, like mad. And like they go to the terrace, and he's like, I don't have it. I don't have it. Like he borrowed all that money, has none of it to pay any of it. Like none of that stuff is there. And you get that sinking feeling. And like the most like heartbreaking moment is she filed for divorce 3 days later from Harlan. Like Harlan lost everything in the matter of 12 hours, basically. And I think it's like one of those like it's like a character study of one character you know nothing about in like a 5 to 10 minute scene. And I think it's brilliant what Sorkin does with his dialogue, what he's able to create, and everything about it. I've said this, like I'm on the record now. I think Molly Game is my favorite thing. Like, well, my favorite director work from Sorkin. I love Molly's Game too. Like,
come on,
yeah.
What?
There's no direct competition with Molly's Game as far as directing.
Okay, how?
Sorkin.
Well, didn't he do Trial of Chicago 7?
That movie sucks.
Well, don't tell that. Okay. I put this over.
I will kill people today, Leo. I will kill people with this cricket bat.
I will put this over the Social Network now for me as watchable movie, rewatchable movie. That's where I'm at in this thing. So that's fair. Fine. I'm not a movie trivia. I couldn't tell you what he directs and what he doesn't. His involvement. There's only one movie that he's written that I would put high, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, this is. I'm not a big poker guy, so that aspect of it doesn't like enthrall me. But I think it's a great scene to bring up for this show because, like you said, this guy's story could be a whole movie, and they give it to you in one scene. It starts out so heartbreaking because it starts out like she said about, yeah, he was so excited about his wife's third. He was talking about all this stuff he's doing for his wife, but he wasn't bragging. He was just honestly excited to be having this party doing this for his wife, and then it ends with his wife leaving him and divorcing him. And it, like you said, just happens over, and she walks you through it. Just like it's so like it makes me never want to play poker because like you just see like even no matter how good you are, how like just you're standing on the precipice that you can just collapse off of because of any idiot does anything wrong or you do anything wrong, and it will destroy your life. So it's kind of like a cautionary tale as well. But it's all just one scene. Like I said, it's like a 3-act movie in one scene, and it's done so well. So yeah, like I said, I don't love the movie. I seen it. I didn't necessarily remember the scene, but going back and watching just the scene and then appreciate for what it is, perfect scene to bring up on this show. Everybody else on this scene from all these games.
I haven't seen the movie since in 2 years ago when I had to play Scott and Ethan, and they used written by Aaron Sorkin. So my memory's all fuzzy on this scene and the movie. I like the movie. I'm a casual poker player. Like I like poker. I'm not as big as my brother. He's a massive poker fan. I do say Michael did call. We were talking about this. There's a chat with Michael Cole and I yesterday. He was like, Cody just talking about Molly's Game, but he's going to have that one scene from the movie in his top 100, and he called it. So I just want to shout out Michael for that. Yeah, I've not seen the. I can't really exactly remember the scene. It's been a while. I didn't want to rewatch it just out of curiosity. Like, I don't think this movie's bad or like. I think it's pretty good. I imagine I might like it more in a second watch. So yeah.
Yeah, this film is fantastic. I've only seen it the one time, but this scene I remember fairly well. Like this is the scene that I think of when I think of Molly's Game. It's great. Good pick.
Yeah, really good movie. So much of Sorkin's stuff is like people in rooms, like being really smart and like super smart people in rooms just doing stuff. And this scene introduces an agent of chaos being, Bad Brad being Brian Darcy James. And so it's fun to watch Sorkin kind of subvert his whole thing by letting, the bad poker player, the dumb, quote unquote, dumb guy, like get the win. So it's a great scene. And Bill Camp is just like one of the GOAT character actors. So I love him.
All right. Jake, hit us with your number 82.
This is a weird one, but this is just probably the most why is this even on my top 100? Like, honestly, this may be like the most why, what? In the mid 2000s, there was a subgenre of movies that were pretty terrible, pretty bad comedies. The parody movie, your epic movie, your date movie, your disaster movie. But there's one that I have a special place in my heart because it parodies the Raimi Spider-Man films. There's a scene from Superhero movie that I absolutely love for almost no reason other than
this is a joke.
It's the stupidest thing, and I absolutely love it. It's the scene where they're interviewing Tom Cruise, and it's a Tom Cruise impersonator, and he's parodying the Scientology interview that he did, where he's wearing the black jumper, and he's in the dark, he's in like the weird like room, and it's like really like underlit, and he's just talking about these weird philosophical sort of like Scientology shit. This is just him talking about this. It sort of parodies the Subaru Montage from Spider-Man, where they're asking like a bunch of people about the Dragonfly, and they interview Tom Cruise on YouTube, and he's just talking about this like, this guy can't even fly, and he's like just complete like replicating Tom Cruise's sort of mannerisms and cadences, the way he just like breaks into laughter, and he just goes and the way he does that, I just fucking lose my shit. And the way he goes, the guy can't even fly. I can fly. I can fly. And the way he just like captures Tom Cruise's like just essence. He doesn't look 100% like Tom Cruise. He just captures the energy. And I just lose my shit every time I watch the scene. There's an extended like 2-minute scene on YouTube that I will rewatch like all the time. Absolutely funny. Pretty funny. And then it ends with him with a news report saying, breaking news, Tom Cruise is dead. He tried to fly. It's so funny. It's so stupid, but I have a kick out of this scene. The extended scene on YouTube is even better, to be honest.
It's time to stop!
Oh my God, Jake. Obviously I've never seen the movie because I respect myself. But I watched the scene on YouTube, and I can't believe there's a lot of reasons that a lot of your scenes shouldn't be on your list, but this is basically like a Saturday Night Live skit, and not a good set. It's like a featured player on Saturday Night Live. They found out could do a Tom Cruise impression, so they let him do like a skit at 12:52. And it almost gets cut for time, but just makes it under. It's just a guy impersonating Tom Cruise. It's not even a scene. Like, how is this on your top? Like, this is top 100 movie scenes of all time. Like,
so
how
funny.
did this make your list? This is ridiculous.
It's so funny.
Ridiculous, Jake. Everybody else, has anybody else seen this? Please tell me you haven't seen this.
I know. These movies came out and they went. I did not. I don't like scary movies, so there's not a chance that I would ever go see a superhero movie. Especially 2008. We get the Dark Knight, Iron Man, and this great cinema.
Keep doing you, Jake.
You know what, Jake? I'm happy for you. I'm going to watch the scene afterwards, but I'm happy for you.
That's got to be points down. That's got to be.
Everybody's happy because they know they're not coming in last. Okay, Scott, give us your 82.
My 82, let's bring things back to normal. It's the ending scene from Jackie Brown. Yeah, amazing movie, obviously. And, as much as I love Tarantino, I feel like this is really the only one of his movies that takes place in the real world. Also, maybe because it's adapted from a novel by Elmore Leonard as well. It's I think the only adaptation that Tarantino's done. But anyway, so the characters feel very real, and in particular, Max Cherry, the Robert Forster character, which is like one of my favorite performances and characters, like in any movie, is a great example. But also Jackie, and this last scene is where they connect again a few days after the events of the movie at Robert Forster's office, and they have like this sort of bittersweet final conversation, and she asks him to come to Spain with her, and he basically says that he can't, like is kind of blowing her off, like I got to be here and do my job, do my work, and then they kiss and she leaves, and really like the moment of the scene is her like driving away and him on the phone with like a new client, and he's like, can I call you back in about 20 minutes, not because he has anything else that's going on, but just because like he just needs to be like in his feelings basically for a while, and like just the look on his face with like the smeared lipstick on him as watching her drive away, and him like kind of part of him wondering if he did the right thing, but the other part of him knowing he did the right thing, but also that it like feels terrible because he just wants to leave with her. And then of course the final moment of Jackie driving away and kind of sadly singing along to the Across 110th Street, the song that opens the movie. It's such a perfect way to end the movie, and real like moments of humanity again that you don't really expect necessarily from a Tarantino movie. And I don't mean that as a criticism, obviously, but it is a nice sort of counterpoint to a lot of the scenes that we'll probably talk about with Tarantino and what you normally expect from him. And I just love the performances and characters so much in this scene and in this movie.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen this, so I don't remember all the details of the scene. But I do really like the relationship between the two of them. I feel like I can't think of any others off my head. This is like the real, only like real like romance that Tarantino's ever done. Like I don't think he's ever been like a just like this kind of relation. I mean, there's been like relationships, but usually they're kind of like messed up.
Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth. You don't think that's a romance?
But yeah, I just like, and I like movies where
Django and his wife. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, that wasn't necessarily like those weren't like the two focal characters.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. More traditional relationship like this, I guess I should say. Traditional is a word. But I really like the way he handles it. I just like movies where characters like they're not meant to be together. Like they're together for a reason, a certain amount of time, and like once that's over, it's done. And it's like hard to accept that, but you have to, because like you're not built to be together. Like you kind of want to be. And I think they had it really well. And I think it's just nice to see like these kind of characters, like they're not like 20 years old, and like they've lived, they've had experience, and like they know what they're doing. So no, it's a solid. Like I said, I got to go back and watch it to really get the details. But I think it's a good scene. Everybody else on the end of it.
This is one that I need to revisit. I know it went up really high on my last rewatch because I was very down on it the first time I watched it. Because I was like, I think I watched it under the thing. I was like, oh, Tarantino, I like his work. And then I watched this, and it's not like in the same like the way the other movies are. But I really enjoyed it. I don't want to just go back and watch the final scene. I'll have to watch the whole movie. But yeah, I think it's an excellent choice. I think people need to give this movie more credit than when they give the rest of his movies a ton of credit. This is definitely one that deserves the credit.
Yeah, I haven't. I like Cody. I need to revisit this movie. This and The Hateful Eight are the only two that I've Tarantino movies I've seen once. And which is kind of weird. I'm a big Tarantino fan. I love his movies. It's one of the first filmmakers I kind of like started to really like love. I got to rewatch Jackie Brown just to be clear. I do like the scene. I do like how it ends. I like how she's in the car and she's like singing, or she's lip singing across 110th Street, which is a great scene. I like how the movie bookends with that song. It's just it's one I got to rewatch.
Yeah, definitely a great scene to include on your list. I haven't seen the film in a couple of years, but it's one I definitely need to rewatch. But this is top tier Tarantino for me. I love this film.
All right. That takes us to our final movies of the night. Jack, number 81.
All right. It's my favorite scene from one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's Glenn's death from the first Nightmare on Elm Street film. I love this film, but this is the moment from this film that I think of when I think of this movie. It's brutal. It's over the top. Johnny Depp has by far the most memorable death in the entire franchise. He gets pulled into his bed and an ungodly amount of blood just sprays out of his mattress and covers his entire room. And it's over the top. It's gratuitous and it's fantastic. It's entirely in line with everything else going on in this film, but it's one of the greatest death scenes ever put to film.
What does that mean?
It's just, I love that. Especially if you look at how they filmed it, and constructed the set to send all the fake blood out of the bed. It's great, and just the entire film. This scene in particular is just masterclass horror filmmaking for me. I love it.
Yeah, it's a fun horror movie, Death. I don't like when you said, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this scene, but it's not something that I don't know. If you're super into horror movies, which I think you're probably just watching this for fandom more than anything, right, Jack?
Yeah, but I did initially watch this for fandom, but I've rewatched it the most of any other Horror Icons films, and it's become one of my favorite horror films.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. Like it doesn't feel top 100 wins for me. It's cool. It's a cool effect, but it's so fast too. That's the other thing. I went back and rewatched it. And realized how fast it happened. Like there's not a whole lot to it. Everybody else on Glenn getting blood splattered in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
Cody wants to go last. So.
I think Friday the 13th sucks. Oh, not Friday the 13th. The Nightmare on Elm Street sucks. Both suck. Fair. I'll say both suck. That's right. What I'm on this thing. I've never liked Freddy Krueger. I think Freddy Krueger sucks. Like overall, I think he's like the way he talks and like that stuff's cool, but overall, I just think it's like this one is just classic. Like for Nightmare on Elm Street is just like over the top, like blood pouring everywhere to be just for that effect. And I think that's what they were going for to like stand that time. But overall, I don't think the death that impressive. And I think there's other deaths throughout Nightmare that would be considered, I guess, cooler than this. I think this is most iconic. Is it cooler than the rest? No, for me. So, yeah. And Stuck in the Middle with you. Gosh, if we're gonna put that low and this high, do you even know how to construct a list, man?
Doesn't matter.
I'm trying to win here. Shut
up. Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's a really good scene. I like the movie. I enjoy the more sort of over the top operatic type violence and stuff like that. So that's actually a plus for me, honestly, in the scene. I think, problems with the movie notwithstanding or the franchise, in a vacuum, this scene is really memorable and everything. So I, commend the pick.
As far as like the three big horror franchises of the 80s, I'm Team Freddy, like all the way. I've always loved Freddy as a character and his movies. Some of them are pretty bad, but some of the sequences I think are really inventive and fun. And I think this death is really good. And it's just like it really is sort of just like what is scary. Like Freddy can get you at home, he can get you anywhere, he can get you where where you think you're the most safe in your dreams. And the way it plays out in that sequence where the bed goes down and then just the blood comes out is really well done. It's one of the best death scenes in horror history, if I'm being completely honest. And he's killing Johnny Depp, so that's just doubly even more effective scene, if I'm being honest.
Wow. Right. Cody, what is your number 81?
no shame whatsoever on this one.
Okay.
1993, Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Two Dates. The sequence, the situational comedy that he is able to create in this. I told Kirk, I sent it to Kirk today. I was like, it's 16 minutes. Looking back on it, it's a long effing scene, but it is brilliant what he's able to create in this. He's got a meeting with the executive of the channel trying to get a TV show booked. He's also on the date with his family dressed up as Doubtfire, and he's back and forth having to run through the bar. And not to mention the executive, the runner of the studio, is double scotch chugging like to catch up with him throughout the night. So he's getting plastered as the night's going on. He's going into the wrong bathroom. He's like leaving stuff undone. He's coming back to the table smelling awful and also like fucking with Pierce Brosnan's character like as it goes on. Like she'll step away from the table and he'll be like, "Oh, I've seen what she's packing in the bedroom. You better be ready to compete." And like just the different things, and like sits there and like it all ends basically when he switches. He goes back to the dress completely as Doubtfire and like laughing with him, and she's Hillard, like blah blah blah. He's like, "What?" And like full gear is like, "Oh," and then he sells it as like, I'll be the host of the show as this character, but then he messes with Pierce Brosnan's dish and starts choking. And help is on the way, dear. And he runs across the thing to give him the Heimlich maneuver, which reveals that it's really him as Doubtfire. I think it's brilliant. I think it's one of his best acting performances as like a comedian, like having to play both roles like in the same like moment, and the chaos of the scene and like how everybody reacts to it. I think how Sally feels like screams at the end when she finally sees who it is. I think it's brilliant.
I didn't have a chance to go back and rewatch the scene. I know I've seen it. But yeah, I mean, I think you and I have talked about this. I'm not the biggest Robin Williams fan, but he is. I think this is like the best use of his talents and just his comedy. So yeah, like I said, I want to rewatch this before we finish up so I can score you on it properly. But I don't have a full memory on it right now. Everybody else on the 2 date season is Doubtfire.
I mean, this is a pet peeve of mine, and this is nothing against this scene specifically because I think it's done really well. But I hate when it's like, oh my god, I've got these two important events on the same day. What am I gonna do? Ho ho hoi! I specifically think of the Hannah Montana movie doing that as well. But basically just ripping off this movie. But this scene is done really well. I would say this is the best example of that sort of cliche of the oh my god, I got two things on the same day. Just saying.
Technically, it's not the same day. He gets in. He's already planned the meeting and has to get invited to this thing that she does not want to go to at all.
It's one of the things where it's like the exact same. It's the same. It's two events happening at the same time. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I do really like the scene, and I think Robin Williams just like knocks it out of the park during the sequence. I really love when he's just like constantly changing, and I think he scares himself in the mirror when he realizes he's still got the face on. That moment's pretty good. But I do love the revelation when he goes to the executive, and then he's still in his Doubtfire outfit, and he's like that realization on his face of like, oh my god, I've just fucked up. But then he plays it off really well. It's a fun scene. It's really good.
Yeah, this scene is it's fantastic. It's the scene from Mrs. Doubtfire to include there. All in all, yeah, no, I have to rewatch this movie. I wanted to put a scene from it on my list, but I just haven't seen this movie in like 6 years. It's been way too long, and I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head, so I just didn't put anything on. But it's a great pick, so good job.
I'm sorry, but I've never seen it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Jake, Roma's home. What's your 81?
All right, so we're going back. We continue with the comedy. Oh, we just revealed it. Oh my god, I had this whole fucking setup and everything. I'll just bring it up. It's the Pooh Cocktail Supreme ending from Jackass 3D. An absolute great ending to Jackass 3D. Steve-O is in the what's it called? I can't remember. The cubicle. Yes, it's about to be slingshot. It's filled.
Porta potty.
The porta potty, thank you. It's filled with shit. It's going to slingshot up. Steve-O hates heights. He's cool putting a hook through his cheek and going out into the ocean, but he does not like heights. Does not like bungee diving. So he's the perfect person to be doing this sequence. It goes up, and he is covered in shit. I believe it's dog shit, but it's still shit, and it's all liquid, and it's fucking disgusting, but it is absolutely hilarious. It's a great way to end Jackass 3D. It's the best sequence. It's the best scene from the movie. And then he starts throwing up, and it's vomit and shit, and it's just perfect. You see Jeff Tremaine just laughing, and he's like out of breath. It's like he's just throwing up while he's covered in shit. It is great. It's comedy at its finest. It is a representation of male stupidity. A true American icon Steve-O is, and it's just. It's brilliant, and it makes me feel proud to be human and the stupid shit that humanity can do. And we're going to celebrate it on screen by seeing Steve-O get covered in shit.
Jake, I'm putting in an order for a full psych exam. Between this and the happiness scene, and just your glee in describing both of them.
I do not have any sort of glee in explaining the happiness scene. Oh my god, no.
little bit of glee. Something's wrong, and I'm saying this. I'm saying this as your friend. I'm not saying this to be like mean or like insult you or just do like normal like your list sucks jabs. There's a problem here that we need to fix. Yeah, this is. I haven't seen the movie, and I saw the description. I was not going to watch this scene because why do I know? This is awful, Jake. Yeah, I'm speechless at this point. Anybody else see this or have any desire to say anything about it?
I love the Jackass films. I'm the right age for the Jackass films. They came out the right time. I love 1, 2, and 3. I would have never put this on any of my list. Of all the sequences, too, I'm a little surprised that this is the one. Because I think there's some.
This is it. Just wait till.
I can't wait. All I will say is the way that he said that Steve was covered in shit, and then he pukes and there's vomit and shit. I just love how he tried to like sell this science on this list. And watching Kirk die, I would love to just hop on call and like share the scene with Kirk and let him actually visit because I think this scene is special. But yeah, way to go, Jake! I'm telling you, you know how to make a list.
I tried.
I thought rubber was the height.
I stepped away for a minute while you were describing what was happening because I felt like I was going to vomit. So thanks for that.
That's
but
the
I didn't. I didn't vomit. So thank God. But I haven't seen any Jackass films, and it certainly didn't move up well just now.
I can't think of anything less targeted towards me probably than the Jackass films, if I'm being quite honest. And I think Jake has just very artfully summed up why that is and why I will probably never watch one. So, yeah, thank you, Jake.
And Jake, I think this is unprecedented in WLS Top 100 history. But I'm going to make an executive decision here. Moving forward, there are some movies some scenes I just don't think I'm going to let you talk about because what's going to happen here is people are going to bring up like some of the all-time great moments in the history of cinema, and I just can't abide you. I just can't abide you being like, that's not as good as the Steve-O covered dog crap. So I don't know. We'll see how things go moving forward, but it's going to be rough. This is pretty bad. Okay.
Why are you the way that you are?
Kirk instituting a gag order.
Yeah.
No, you're allowed to talk about your shit covered. You just
Hey.
lose.
Hey.
I will say, in my defense, that's the only scene I have where it's feces.
You picked the group. You
good.
saw the list.
That's
To be fair.
You saw
Never
the
have one
list.
scene where a human being is covered in feces.
Good. I'm glad.
You
that's
saw
all.
the list, and you decided on the panel. This is what you get.
Because he knew it would be comedy gold. He knew I'd be perfect for this panel. Come on.
Where I didn't. Okay, Scott.
Scott's 81.
Finish this off. I want to.
Yeah, nobody's gonna really know what this scene is, but it's the deposing DuPont scene from Dark Waters. I think Boatman left, which I don't blame him honestly, but yeah. So this is a movie I've talked about several times, but I think it's a super underrated film that more people need to know about, more people need to watch. This scene, perfectly encapsulates the movie. Is really about the way that these rich corporations just sort of like suck the life out of the real people who their actions are harming without even really any thought to it. And Mark Ruffalo is deposing one of the big wigs from DuPont, and first points out to him that in this one sort of study that was performed about the toxic chemicals, they referred to the human beings who were affected as receptors, not as human beings, but as receptors. And sort of goes on this line of questioning, really calling him out. And then he just is like, and there's one more thing, and he like slides across a photo of this guy Bucky, who's like a kind of a recurring character in the movie, but has like severe like facial deformities and like body deformities and everything because his parents were exposed to the chemicals, and then he was born, and he just like slides the photo to the guy and is like, this is your receptor, like his name is Bucky. And it's just such a great like mic drop, powerful moment. And the guy, the bigwig guy, is like clearly affected by it and clearly like coming to terms with his actions for the first time, really. And it's also fascinating because Mark Ruffalo's character, Rob Ballot, like he represents corporations, and he only gets involved with this case because of where he's from. But obviously it really changes him. So it's a powerful scene. It's a powerful movie and a really important story, but also one that's, I think enjoyable to watch and engaging. So please check it out.
Something realizing about you, Scott, it's funny because like your two favorite types of movies are one, movies with absolutely no plot, and two, movies that only exist to give you real life information. It's just a weird combination of movies to love, and that's fine. I haven't had a chance to watch this one yet. I'm sure it's a very interesting, important movie that kind of won't move the needle for me, but I'll check it out because I should. Everybody else on this, anybody else seen Dark Waters?
I have not seen Dark Waters, unfortunately.
I feel like I'm being chased by Dark Waters and Scott. It comes up all the time when me and Scott are around each other at this point. I may need to rewatch Dark Waters because maybe I'm missing something massive in this movie because Scott seems to love it. And we like a lot of like procedurals like stuff together. So maybe I was missing something the first time I watched it. Who knows? Barr also likes this movie a lot too, which is weird.
Yeah, it's kind of random, but
yeah. I was so excited to watch this movie when it first came out because the trailer was everywhere for me around the time it was coming out, and I was very excited, and then I never saw it, and I'm really frustrated with myself, and I want to see it. I just haven't. This happens every year. There's always one movie where I'm like, I am going to see this, and then I never see it. It's frustrating.
All right, well, that is it for the night. That closes us out. Got to give out winners and losers here.
I wonder who gets last.
I think Cody's a clear-cut winner this week. Jaws. He had Jaws. He had Glengarry Glen Ross. Good, Bad, the Ugly. The Nightcrawler scene. Just a lot of solid stuff in here. That Molly's game scene was really, really tight too. So, number 2, again, it's close. Slight edge to Jack again. Little Miss Sunshine, Les Mis, Will Be Blood. Oxbow Incident was really good first time watch for me. So again, Scott, third place. Close. You and Jack were like 2A and 2B here. You had Ladybird, which was really strong, but some of the stuff, nothing terrible on these lists, just nothing really getting me super excited. And last place goes without saying. Jake, you had someone covered in you had superhero movie on your list.
One single, last 30 seconds.
But it doesn't. It's on your list. And
talking about scenes, not movies.
What that mean? You had a scene from superhero movie on your list. So you had a literal pile of crap on your list, and it wasn't the biggest pile of crap on your list. This is the problem, Jake. We need to do something. We need to do something. Well, that's something we're going to discuss later. But you're the focal point right now.
I'm more like the focal point, if you know what I mean.
Hey!
I just want to be done with this forever. We'll be
I'm going to be hanging from the bathroom!
That's pretty good. Next week we'll be back with where we at 80 through 71. Join us because it's probably going to be worse. I hate everything. See you next week.
Going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Drunk and angry. Come on, break the lousy cup. Ow! I hurt my arm.
And I'd expect everybody to do everything.
I'm going there soon, you know.
Is that so? Where are you going?
Uruguay.
Well, you go Uruguay and I'll go mine.